Okay.
Look at that background.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We are.
This may be the best venue we've used yet.
Good. Good. Have you guys done a lot of interviews together?
No, we didn't do interviews.
This is our first one
we've
together.
Done,
Oh, is that right?
We've
Okay.
done, what do they call them? Forums.
Candidate forums, yeah.
Candidate
Right.
forums.
Yeah.
Right.
They ask us all the same question. Oh, I'm glad there's only 2 of us, House candidates. 10 people get asked the same question 10 times.
Right.
That's tough.
Right. And it's hard because everybody starts kind of playing off each other's answers and cross-referencing at times.
It's hard as the people watching it too, because you hear the same thing.
Right.
Most of the time you hear it 8 to 9 times.
Yeah.
It's, there could be a person that doesn't feel the same way.
Especially Sheep Creek.
Yeah,
Everybody
Sheep Creek,
agrees.
yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's an easy one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't they all be that easy?
It'd be nice.
But even then, as Stephen referred to earlier, there are people that are in favor of it. And it's not that I'm totally against mineral extraction.
Right.
It's that I'm for the environment to be maintained, right? Because I want to live on it.
Yeah.
I want to live in and around it. All wealth comes from the soil, and so does all health, right? If you're eating well and you're out there exercising on clean, earth, then I think you're probably going to do better than somebody that's, sitting in their house breathing in carpet fibers and injecting themselves with whatever, the latest fad is, So,
I had a woman call me and she asked if we could make safe spaces in school. And I said, what do you mean by safe spaces in school? She says, I'd like them to be EMI free. So no cell phone.
Ooh.
No cell phones, no Wi-Fi, no this, that they can have a
I'm a
safe
fan.
place to go.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I said.
How do we do it?
Isn't that outside?
Yes.
I mean, isn't
Absolutely.
that outside, right? And one of the things that I don't love as your child becomes older, like in high school, there's not time to go outside, right? They get that 37 minutes to go to lunch, and
Right.
and that's it. And then there's room to room, and the school that my son goes to, you don't even leave the hallway ever, right? And so
Right.
he spends 8 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon confined inside, right?
Confined is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Institutionalized.
Indoctrinated. Right.
That's why I'm so.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we'll get there, but the
Well,
4-day school week was huge for me, so that people could have more time with their families and less indoctrination, less
Right.
of that, and not take any education away. The same educational hours were being provided,
Exactly.
and that was huge. And
Yeah. And I think it took courage to make that occur. And the reason being is that unfortunately, we have become reliant upon public school to become daycare,
yeah,
so that mom and dad can both go to work.
you want to piss off teachers? Tell them they're babysitters, because
Yeah.
we went through that,
Right.
and teachers pushed back on that. That
Yeah.
they're not babysitters.
That's
And
right. They shouldn't be.
making that decision, that's really where my heart went out for, was that single mom with 3 kids,
Right.
working to try and make it happen.
Right.
And I've said this before, but the greatest thing, especially up in that community, is that community comes together. And it opened up a free market economy for people to open a business on Friday. It
Yeah,
opened up the
sure.
faith-based organizations to come in and say, hey, we'll open our doors on Fridays.
Which
It opened
is
up
great.
neighbors to talk to each other and say, hey, I've talked to my boss. Can you do the first and third Friday, and I'll watch the kids the second? It allowed things, and it was a courageous decision from that standpoint of you knew lives were going to be affected, and
Yeah.
and there was change, and change is always hard. But fortunately, glowing reviews so far. I've not heard
Nice.
a single thing. Students are doing better, and that's where a lot of the stuff was predicated on. Teacher applications went from 1 a year to 27 for one spot.
You're kidding.
No. And so those are a lot of the decisions there.
They would
Because
like
they want a
they want a
4-day
4-day
work
week also. Yeah.
Well, because
Yeah.
we can't pay them what Missoula's paying. So
Right.
to have that extra day out, the economy's tough. That maybe opened up them to have another job.
Sure.
Right? Or
Right.
at least have a day off. But yeah, I'm grateful because, I still think we have to wait for 2 years to see what test scores look like. But
Sure.
because the data is 50-50 depending on what Google article you look at.
Right.
So, but
Right.
so far, at least anecdotally, the community and administration and teachers have all received it really well, which is awesome to hear.
How do the students feel? Are they happy having an extra day on the weekend?
So that was one of the polls. We did evaluate the students, but I took that with less credibility than parents and teachers and the community, because what kid doesn't want to be in school one less day? So
I agree.
they love it. But I had a parent come to me the other day. It wasn't the other day. It was a couple months ago because he was at a football game. And he said, yeah, my kid's doing so much better because he's never been a good student. But having that extra day off, now he has time to decompress and then put in the work he needs to put in. I'm like,
Right.
Really? And he goes, yeah, okay. Because that was some of the anecdote we heard from Whitehall, which is what was one of our...
They shifted to a 4-day.
They did, and that was one of my pushes when we got the Whitehall data. They saw a reduction in discipline issues, reduction in truancy, increased attendance, and increased test scores. We're still out on test scores performance for a couple years,
Sure.
but anecdotally from that data, I was like, well, that's good, because that's what we were hearing.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't fighting going to school anymore. He had his extra day off to go fish, go hunt, just go whatever he wanted to do
Sure.
for another day off.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be a 3 to 5 year analysis. I hope they're trying to retain some of that data to see what is good and what is bad from it and what adjustments need to be made.
I think it's going to be a good experiment.
I do too.
And when the data comes in, it'll reveal.
Yeah.
And, I think at that point, choices can be made as to whether or not, maybe a half day or whatever it happens to be to make up, or even just, in my dream world, the only thing that public education would provide would be language. English, certainly, and then any other language you want to learn. And one of the most important languages that we don't necessarily consider a language would be math, right?
That's funny. I was just going to ask you. You don't think I should learn math?
Well, I certainly do.
Reading, writing,
Absolutely.
arithmetic, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Reading, writing, arithmetic.
Yeah.
Everything else, leave it up to their curiosity. Let them explore. Kind of going into my background, I was not a great student in 7th, 8th, 9th grade. Fortunately, my parents said, well, you can't be a high school dropout, so you're going to this school. And they enrolled me into a private school, and thank God they had the ability to do so.
Yeah.
The teachers there saw that I was a misfit, but rather than castigating me and throwing me aside, they decided, I want to get to know you. And they took personal investment in me. By the time I graduated, which I did, I was actually a teacher's assistant.
Oh, there you go.
Half the day. I was teaching kids with dyslexia how to read, and I was just helping my fellow students, stay up to date. They afforded me the opportunity to grow, and I think that's what good teaching really is, right? Not just, oh, here's your doctrine, memorize it, come back tomorrow, or we'll punish you. That's...
You don't retain that either.
You don't retain
It's
it.
gone.
Exactly. So,
You happen to have a subject?
Yes.
I watched the levy in Stevensville fail.
Okay.
And it was I think it's primarily because nobody wants more taxes, right? At the moment, right. But when I looked at the levies they were trying to pass, they were technology levies, and I went in and talked to the school board, and I said, look, I'm a technology guy. I made all my money in technology.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want kindergarten through 5th graders on laptops all day.
No,
right?
definitely not.
It's so, to me, I think the environment you create, the duration of time they're there, what they're there to learn, but also how they learn. I think, you put books right out here on the table.
Yeah.
You could have emailed me a link to this,
Mm-hmm.
and my likelihood of reading that would have been relatively low. My likelihood of retaining anything that you sent to me would have been very low.
It
right?
does seem to,
And
yeah,
so
retention
I think,
in digital is...
I think if we're talking about children, we all need to relook at, like if you look in Sweden right now, they went away from all online learning. It's all books the whole entire way.
That's great.
And their scores, everything like that's gone up also. So I think there are a lot of things we can do inside of a school
Mm-hmm.
to kind of get back to basic things. And I
Right.
think that we went astray from the original charter of what those folks were doing. And the other thing that I also think, and it was mentioned, I don't know if the camera was on or not when
It
we
is.
said it, but no, when it was on earlier,
I'm sorry, yeah.
is the parent's responsibility, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're both faith-based men, and
Mhm.
I know that my son's biblically, I need to teach him to be a biblical man,
Mm-hmm.
but also I need to teach him how to operate in society, good choices, bad choices, how to study, how to learn, how
Yeah.
to do these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think too often parents just say, that's,
Not
that's
my
school.
responsibility.
That's school's
That's
responsibility.
what, right.
Or they feel like they're, we've created a world where they got to make so much money that that's their priority, and then where their time gets spent is there, and they haven't prioritized that time to
Right.
do that with their children, right?
And with an extra day,
Yeah.
perhaps they can. If they don't have to go to work to keep up,
Yeah.
right?
And kind of what you were saying on that, though, Montana has created a school choice
Yeah.
basis where the money follows the child. So
Mhm.
if the 4-day school week didn't work for your family,
You could
people
go.
left. right?
Yeah.
Right. But we knew we were going to lose people, but we also knew we were going to gain people. And so it's a trade-off, and you have that
Sure.
right, and that's what's wonderful about America is we're not dictatorship or socialist nation yet, and so that gave them the opportunity to go to a different school. That's great, you know. And,
Absolutely.
You know, because we got sued on that.
Did you?
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
Yeah, we got sued by one family who didn't feel we gave enough public comment. Well, I'm a constitutionalist. I gave
Right.
them ad nauseum amount of public comment, more than our attorney and my superintendent wanted me to. But I want to hear from the public. I wanted to hear what blind sides we weren't seeing.
Right.
We had already taken them all in, but you still want to hear that.
Absolutely.
And they sued us basically on a First Amendment violation that we did not give them public comment. And after testimony, the judge was like, yeah, no, he gave you way more than you needed.
You had your opportunities.
Yeah, you were late to the show. That's not the school board's fault. It has been something that was discussed since 2009,
Right.
before I got here. So, constitutional grounds is, I think, when we rely on that, that's a good thing. And that family, they were able to go to another school and fit their needs, and that's a good thing. It wasn't like it was uprooting something that.
It would be a minor inconvenience, but when we adapt and we improvise, perhaps there's something better on the other side.
And we're not a huge valley. You can get to any other school in 30, 40 minutes,
Right.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
you can.
exactly.
I got to pass 3 schools to go right down to Hamilton, right? So,
Exactly. And it comes down to the personal responsibility, right?
Sure.
If I want my child to be in school 5 days a week, then I have to find a school that's operating 5 days a week.
That's right.
If the school has shifted away from that and they've done so by protocol, that's the way it is. And now I have the free market opportunity to go elsewhere,
right.
and that should be afforded.
Yeah.
It reminds me, I have a dear friend who's buried right down the way. Juliet Bauma is her name.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
Did you know Juliet?
I did.
Juliet is part of a huge family, the Baker family, and Ginny Baker, her mother, was foundational in making homeschooling legal in the United States.
Really?
Ginny Baker went to bat and spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C., lobbying, I imagine our congressmen and other parts of the legislature, saying, hey, we have this right, and you're depriving us of this right, and we want to exercise it, and you need to get out of the way. And through persuasion, she was able to do that. And now we have homeschooling, just about everywhere, which is fantastic. And it's growing.
Yeah.
And the question would be why? Well, when you look at the results, exactly. Well, and there's the hard part, right? Again, if we were just teaching language and math, and we weren't instilling them with our sense of morality, I think it would be better off for
Hey,
everybody.
what's interesting about that is I was looking at the data that Stevensville was providing. So if you look at their attendance in high school, attendance in middle school, and then people who registered in kindergarten, the numbers are saying that school will not be the size it's going to be in 12 years because the number of people who are keeping their kids home for homeschooling and the number of people having fewer children is leading to the fact that our schools are not going to need to be these big institutions that they are. And I think that as more people see, my niece and nephew, they're homeschooled, and they're actually my nephew's heading off to college right now, and it's easy now to get your scores, get into college, and go on, right? And I think there was a stigma about that back in the time that that wasn't real education. Now people are realizing, wait a minute, they're scoring higher, they're being more successful. It's pretty interesting. So.
And it takes time for that experiment to play out.
That's right.
And for the data to come back and then be accepted. Yeah. Right? That's the hard part. You took a breath there and you wanted to add something to what Stephen was saying.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
COVID vax issues.
Well,
also a reason.
I didn't take the vax. I'm just kidding.
Also a reason. Oh, I thought you would say that homeschooling was the reason that COVID vax. Yeah, actually, if one of us passed out here, I can admit, because it's on record, because I had to travel during that time. I had to go to Australia during that time.
Oh my God!
And I couldn't go onto that island for 2 years, and so I have a J&J shot inside my body. And I will say, I was out one night, and it was in San Diego, and I was just walking to the car, and I just got dizzy, and I fell straight forward and down. And
did you smash your face or anything?
I went right into my forehead, and I woke up, and I was like, "What happened?" And we weren't out drinking or anything that night, and she's like, "Well, you just fell over." And I'm like, "Man!" And that was at the time all the people at the podiums were just standing there talking and just falling straight back, right?
Right.
And so I have been known to go do some blood, try to get that stuff out of my body and this and that. And I was, I'm happy I'm not it wasn't during that time. It was still right before they were decided that J&J vax didn't count. right? And,
Oh, really? Did
yeah.
they discounted it
Yeah,
eventually?
they discounted eventually. You had to
Like,
go get
one's
another
not
shot. Yeah,
enough.
there's no such thing as a one shot.
Yeah.
Right, so I was part of that
Seems
group
like an
that
economic model.
to stay, my job, I managed everybody around the world, and I had to go down to Australia,
right.
and they're like, you can't come without this, and the bad part was, I will tell
Yeah.
you, it put me in a bad moral position,
Yeah.
because I had a friend who said, I can get you a card.
Oh, you had to make a
I
choice.
could get you a card.
Right.
And I said, that goes against everything I believe,
Don't
right?
lie.
Like, you cannot lie. I
Right.
said, and I could stand true to this and quit my job and put my family in peril, and it'd probably be a little different situation at the
Right.
moment. I go down there, and you look back at life and you say that you've made some decisions that you regret. Probably the single largest decision, or single smallest decision that will result in the largest consequence to
Could.
myself is
Yeah.
possibly that. And,
Right.
so it's.
Yeah, the amount of pericarditis cases that have come out of that young adults, we used to, I'm a paramedic, and a young person having chest pain, 99% of the time was anxiety or drug related.
Right.
Now it's, well, let's look at this. And
Right.
I have a friend of mine, same thing, 29 years old, had a heart attack. I'm like, shut up. And he's a healthy guy, like this guy. I work alongside him, and he
got
goes,
the shot.
he's like, I got the shot. He's like, my family, this and this.
Mhm.
And I'm like, no kidding. He goes, yeah, it was 4 months after. And he's like, I have full-blown heart attack, ST elevation. I'm like, no kidding. And he starts telling me about it. And, everything's anecdotal right now, but there's actually a lot of data
There's a
right
lot
now
coming out.
that's coming out showing.
Yes.
We have a
what
joint.
has
We have a
occurred.
joint friend that has just. He's told me that his son has myocarditis, and
It's terrible.
he was in the military and he was forced to get the shot.
Yes.
And he's 31, 32 years old, and I asked him. I said, "So what do they say he's got to do?" And it's like, not be active.
Yep.
I mean, like his heart
Yeah,
has
don't
just
work.
all of this stuff around it, right?
Yeah.
Like this is a young, vibrant, war,
Right, a soldier.
Mm-hmm. That now is relegated to being careful about his heart rate
Yeah.
and things like that, and it's not fair.
It's not fair.
Yeah, it's
And it's not. I want to acknowledge one that you would decide to take the intervention rather than lie about it, and I think that's important. And I'll give you high praise because of the fact that you had obligations to meet. You have a family, you have a mortgage, you have dreams, you have aspirations, and all of that was leveraged against you.
oh yeah.
That is what they call crime.
Yes, sir.
That is a crime, and it was committed upon you by the very people we trust, that we have installed and elected to be our servants. And it was such amazing betrayal that I didn't know how we were going to get away from it. Right? In 22, I was like, well, they have to go all the way. If they don't go all the way, we're going to hold them to account.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah.
And it's slowly happening, and I'm thrilled to see people peeking under the curtain a little bit and coming out as whistleblowers.
What's interesting to me right now, so when they did this, they did it under emergency protocol, so
Right.
that they were protecting the.
Right.
But who wasn't protected is a lot of these companies and doctors and hospitals. They're not
No.
protected, right? And
Right.
so they made people make decisions, and
Yes.
mine was I'd have to go sue the Australian government, right? That's probably not going to happen in my life. My company wasn't firing people
They weren't.
for not getting the shot.
But
if you could not do your job, they would have
That's
to give your
on you.
job to somebody who could do your job,
right.
right? And so I think the people who were forced, the military, these people
Yeah.
that you lose your job or have lost. What was the woman just lost her job? She just won some money because she was fired. It was $2.5 million she won. It might have
Was
been
she a
police
nurse?
No, I think she was a police officer.
Okay. In
And,
Montana or
no,
just
no, this
nationwide
was
somewhere?
on national news somewhere. I'll be careful because I can't
Yeah.
state the specifics
Sure.
of it.
No,
but
that's understandable.
I think we're going to start to see more and more of that. Right, is what's going to happen.
It kind of makes me flash to the mesothelioma commercials,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we're gonna get
How long
nothing.
did it take for asbestos to be recognized as an absolute
Yeah.
pathogen,
Yeah.
right? And now it's the trend within the legal community, right? If you have mesothelioma as a result of being exposed to asbestos, because we approved its use, now you can seek compensation.
Yeah.
And I pray for the day when that comes, but I would prefer, well, I want both, certainly. Anybody that was damaged is certainly entitled to some sort of compensation.
How do you
Anybody
think,
that
how do you
was
think you would
coerced.
prove damage?
Well,
Like
that's
the
tricky.
the folks
Yeah,
who have,
that's tricky.
like here's the thing. I'm pretty healthy. I
Right.
I can run an Ironman race, right?
Can you?
I did 7 of them.
Wow.
And but for me to just fall down straight down on my face, walk into a car,
That says something.
I mean, yeah. So now how do I go find the damage, right? Like, I
Right.
mean, I know, I can feel it. I'm like, that's not normal.
Right.
The people have myocarditis. We have to go prove that there's no genetics. There's no, like, the burden of proof on the victim is going to be so high.
Yeah.
It is.
It's going to be almost insurmountable for most people.
At a certain point, it will become self-evident, and you won't have to necessarily prove it in a court of law individually.
Yeah.
My prayer is that it does become irrefutably true, that the decision to fast track a shot and then coerce as many people as possible into taking it before they just gave up.
Yeah. Did you state a number of like 30 million?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So in the books that I gave you, he's detailing 30,000. At the time when that was published in late 22, it was 30 million excess deaths globally. That number.
How do they determine something
just
excess deaths?
Excess deaths globally, I believe, is going to just be the aggregation of
Take
everybody's.
an average over time, and now we're above that average.
Right,
So we'll call
and
that.
these are the ones that are above average, and that we have to find some sort of explanation for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's an unknown cause, but at the same time, we have to begin correlating what occurred.
And then there's going to be the research also, just to push back a little bit on those numbers from a realistic point. There were deaths that were ruled COVID deaths that weren't because the government was giving them money.
Right.
There was again, anecdotal, a guy I know, his friend was dying of cancer. Dying of cancer, stage 4 terminal.
Right. At the end.
And he worked at the hospital at the time, and he said, I want to see the file. Guy died, his friend died in the hospital. So he said, hey, can I see the file? Went up, and it was COVID. He didn't die from COVID. He died from cancer.
Right.
So there is, but I would think that those numbers are
skewed.
Right, and so there's going to be concerns on how you process all that.
Absolutely.
Because there was so much fraud going on at that time, which is unfortunate.
But if you said,
I agree.
like, we'll just make a number, like there's 10 million deaths per year over the last 10 years. This is the average based on the
This is our
percentage
normal
of population.
Right.
And now, past COVID, there are this many more, on average, sustained deaths moving forward in a group of a control group of people who got a shot. That
an experimental shot. Because the studies weren't out, and we're in
Fast
the
track.
experiment right now, because it's not even the deaths, it's the life impacts right now. Like your lungs are damaged.
the
right now,
number
your
of
heart
people
rate damaged right
people
now.
have long COVID, the cough and everything. I can hear it. I'm like, oh well.
It's perfect irony. You know how they're treating long COVID these days?
Oh no.
Ivermectin. That's how they purge it from your system.
It's weird. It's kind of like it's been doing that for 100 years.
Right.
The data shows it's great stuff.
And yet, people's mail was being intercepted by the post office if it contained, or they suspected it contained, ivermectin.
And if you were Joe Rogan, that made you look yellow when they put you
Yeah,
on the news
right.
to try to deter you from using ivermectin.
What?
Didn't he sue? I think he sued them for that.
Yeah, he did.
Sued them for
Absolutely.
That,
And he should.
yeah.
Because we got to hold these people to account. And, they were, for all intents and purposes, pushing a fraud. And they were doing it in unison. And when 2 or more people collude to create a fraud, we call that conspiracy.
That's right.
And, that is a very simple, basic test for people to understand, right? If 2 or more people are colluding to create something of, magic, they call that a strategy, right? But if we were to turn this into some sort of fraud and try to perpetrate it on the people and force them to believe what we believe, and then, potentially ruin their lives if they don't, well, that's coercion, and coercion is a crime.
Let me ask you this question. You guys are going to love this one because you're, Constitution and all that stuff. So this can get y'all both fired up. So Matt and I have been, being as kind as competitors can be, right?
Yes.
And we look around the valley and we see flyers, ads, just blatant lies that are going out, and they're protected under the First Amendment.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
they are.
It is, you can say anything you want, and then
Mhm.
what is it used for?
Mhm.
It's used to sway a populace based on fiction
Yeah.
to make an outcome that would be advantageous to a group of people.
Right.
Which sounds a lot like what you just said right
You know,
there.
I think
right?
I think
And
you have a
so-
valid point there.
So
yeah.
you've got absolutes. Like I absolutely believe in the First Amendment, right?
Right.
And I.
But what are the limits?
Well, you know, and that's
And
the
there's-
thing. Once you
right.
start saying that
There's
there's
limitations.
a, yeah, I
There
mean,
is.
yeah,
There's
you can't
reasonable limitations.
incite, danger, violence, these
Right.
types of things,
You
right? You
cannot
can't yell
incite.
fire in a mall, right?
Right.
But to take like this tiniest piece of information and then say it's about mutilation of children,
Right.
on what they did, and you just it's like, what's the stretch? What's
right.
the point?
What's
like,
the threshold
yeah,
when it becomes
and,
a lie?
and especially
and
since
therefore
we're
a
sitting
crime?
here in the middle
Yeah.
of a political cycle, and it's
Mhm.
just, the part that really concerns me about the whole thing is, as I go out and talk to people, they are just disheartened by the process, and I think
Yeah.
we're going to see one of the lowest voter turnouts in this election
Interesting.
right here that we've seen, because it's a midterm election, and people are fed up
Yes, we are.
with this situation right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know who that bodes better for on this side of the bench, here or here, but
It'll
it
be
doesn't.
determined,
Well,
right?
it'll be determined, but
Yeah.
it's almost it's very sad to me that we've got 32 or is it 32 or 30 32,000 registered voters here,
Mhm.
and I think our race will be decided by about 12,000 of them. Right?
Total.
Total. That's
Right.
what it'll be.
Right.
It'll be total, and
Mhm.
that's, and why? And I think a big part of it is people like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to do it because I don't like it. I'm sick of politics. Or the other thing you hear is that I don't think my vote counts. Right? And those two
And in
things.
this county it does.
And it counts a
It's
lot
down
in
to
this
two-
county.
The
In a-
Stevensville mayor was down to 3 votes.
You're kidding.
If I
yeah,
remember correctly,
that's
right?
It was
3 votes.
251 to 254.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
No.
So your vote matters in this valley.
There you go.
It really
Yeah,
does.
I think
think that's
Stevensville will have a
that's
better
pretty
turnout
decent
next
proof.
time.
Absolutely.
They will.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
was reading some Bitterroot Star this morning to kind of, buff up on the local issues. And is it Mayor Cruz that's currently
I think so, Jim
holding
Cruz,
this?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In 2025, he was deprived public records.
Yeah.
In 2026, somebody went to collect public records on their own, and he denied them.
Yeah.
At least that's the claim. Now, consistency. Let's go with this idea here. How do we know something is true? We
When it's
know
verifiable?
when it's
Trust and
verifiable,
verify. That's right.
and we can verify it. But when something is true, it is consistent.
Yeah.
When something is true, it is absolute, and it doesn't change. Some of the principles within the Constitution. This book gave me a lot of solace in 21. I started wearing it in my pocket
There you
since,
go.
and now I carry it everywhere. Why? This is my talisman. This, I believe, will protect me from evil. It's just words on paper, and I invest that belief in it. But the principles behind this, the principles that are contained in our Constitution, I think are amazing and fantastic. And to kind of carry this conversation into one particular direction, just for the moment at least, let me read a few of them, a few of our inalienable rights from Article 2. And I think that this does a good job of setting the stage. I brought these for you guys to have if you don't already have one.
I do have it, but
yeah.
and
Use it
I-
since it's
and you
here.
see the young guys right here. He can open up and look at it.
Right,
I would
right.
have to borrow those glasses.
You need some glasses.
Yeah, no,
That's quite
I
all
could
right.
run back to it. I'm
That's
thinking
why
you can read-
I'll
you can
read
I'm
it
a
for us. Yeah,
visual
you bet.
learner, not an auditory learner. So as
Right.
he reads it, I just want to read. You're in
Absolutely.
Article 2.
Article 2 is our Declaration of Rights.
Okay.
And the first 4 are stunning, and they only come from the hindsight of having our Bill of Rights enshrined at that point for some 180 years before this was written. So, we'll just kind of start and we'll discover what we believe that we're saying. And again, why did I feel that there's so much power in these principles and in these words? Well, I think history has proven that this is true. The first one, Section 1, under Article 2, is popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty, to me, at least in my mind, is that we, the people, we set the rules for ourselves, we set the rules of conduct, and we have all agreed to uphold the principles that we further delegate as we progress into the Constitution. It states that all political power is vested in and derived from the people. All government of right originates with the people, is founded upon their will only, and is instituted solely for the good of the whole. We are doing this. We're holding up this state. We're creating this jurisdiction. We're setting the boundaries. We're the ones who know the difference between right and wrong, and we're going to uphold that with our statutory code, right? The Montana Code Annotated is there to support these principles.
That's right.
And when those principles are violated, specifically in detail, we have a code for that, right? And this is how we want to progress. Popular sovereignty immediately negates autocracy, in which a government exists solely to feed itself. I think it's critical that we hold on to that going forward, because I see very little evidence that our government is actually working for us these days. And I'm not talking about Ravalli County government. I'm talking about the boys in the District of District of Columbia.
Yeah.
Right? I would reference our previous conversation about COVID. The greatest betrayal in the history of mankind, as far as I know, because I've only been alive 46 years, right? I'm sure there could have been more, but it was an absolute betrayal of the bedrock foundation of this country, which is political sovereignty and popular sovereignty and individual sovereignty, right? Every one of us, our Constitution and our Montana Code Annotated is based upon the fact that we have to take personal responsibility for our actions, which means that we're in control of ourselves. And that means that you are self-ruled. You have to behave correctly. This is our standard. We expect you to uphold it. If you can't, we have means for that, you know?
I'm going to
Please.
add to that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Personal responsibility and accountability
Mm-hmm.
in our current society are character traits that we have lost in this country.
Yeah.
In a lot of respects.
I agree.
And you want an example of that? Go to Super One and see who puts back their shopping cart.
Oh, okay.
That's self-governance. Put
Yes,
your
it
shopping
is.
cart away.
Yeah,
Nobody's
please.
here to wipe up after you.
Right.
And that's just a small example.
Yeah,
of
right.
People are so used to somebody else's job. You know, walk into that store and there's a piece of trash on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, somebody else they're getting paid for that. Pick it up on your way to the door.
Yeah,
And
sure.
so self-governance is something of a trait that we have to get back to, that our nation, those were originally our values.
That
And
is liberty.
we have to
Self-governance.
get back to that, but it starts with a social contract that
Yeah.
we have with one another, that we start being the example
Yeah.
to our kids, to our friends, to just our neighbors.
Right.
But that shopping cart example, next time you go to the store,
Yeah,
just watch.
just kinda watch.
And you'll see who,
Yeah,
not everybody puts their cart away. They'll leave it right by their cart.
right.
And the old lady that does it because she's struggling to get in her car because she's disabled,
Let's help her out.
But
The
you know,
guy
the
that
good-
goes and
yeah,
helps
say
her
the good
out.
thing is, yeah,
Right.
that's the
That's
good
right.
Montana way. I see more
Right.
people do that for those folks.
do too.
Grab that and
Yeah.
go back. You
but
know.
the 22-year-old construction guy that is busy because he's got to get it. I get that.
Yeah.
We all
Sure.
have priorities, but that's
Right.
just an example of self-governance.
I agree.
And so sometimes we need to find back that American spirit of I can do it myself. I don't need government to come do this for me.
I think that's a beautiful statement, because right now there is no governing official telling us how to behave and what to say and what to think.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
No, we have a social construct here that
We
says
do.
we're going to act like, you know, civilized human beings in this park. But
Because it's
But-
mutually beneficial.
yeah, but the part that is, you know, we're lucky here in Montana. We don't have
Yeah.
a lot
Of the problems
the
that
problems. But
larger
I mean,
populace, right?
you know, look, I took a trip over to Seattle about 6 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I remembered Seattle to be great. And you know, I'm like, yeah, I took my girlfriend there. We went down to the fish market and passed people who had needles in their arms, you know, the fentanyl. You know, there was somebody defecating on the street, and I, as a police officer, I went and found a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
And I went up there and I said, hey, right down the street,
Yeah.
we've got this. He said,
What
the way,
can I do?
the way the state government works, they won't, I can write them a ticket. That's
Yeah.
all I can do. And I thought, man, this is where society has just gone bad, right? Like
Yeah.
now you talk about the ultimate, making these people dependent on the government. I mean, you make them dependent on a drug, and you know, dependent for housing, dependent for all this stuff. They're never incented to get out of that. And
Right.
They that is not a social construct that's working.
No.
Right? And so, you know,
No.
while you have that Constitution there, right,
Yeah.
we're lucky
Yes.
because most of the people in this state do operate in a manner that we're neighborly. Right?
Yeah.
We have this.
Right.
There's so many other places that don't have that, which is why folks like him and I moved here.
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
we didn't
Yeah.
move here to change it. We moved here because of what.
Because this is where you wanted to be.
We valued.
Right.
We valued what that said. We
Mhm.
valued what that afforded us.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, there's an appeal,
Yeah.
right, to freedom and liberty. Give you a kind of past example. I was fortunate enough to go to summer camp as a kid, and this was a Christian summer camp called Geneva Glen. And every once in a while, and out of the blue, they would simulate a fascist takeover. And I don't want to call it a fascist takeover. Let's call it an authoritarian takeover, in which all of the camp counselors started wearing black, and then they started discriminating against you and excluding you. And the next
Really?
thing, yeah. And it only lasted for 24 hours. And the kids that were old enough to participate, right, it was 12 and up, right, they would tell them, there is a candle in the woods on the property somewhere on the property, you know, and it's like a 50-acre property. And if you find that candle, you'll find bread and water there. We want you to think of that candle as liberty, because it is a flame that has to be nourished.
Yeah.
And it is the light, and it is where you want to be, and it is where you will find comfort from the storm. And yeah, I didn't realize that, you know, some 30 years later,
Pretty impactful.
very impactful, right? When I saw an authoritarian move to take over my nation, it was immediately recognizable to me. And it was because they had demonstrated what it was going to look like, and what it is to be segregated, what it is to be ostracized, what it is to be limited in your liberty.
Yeah.
And I thank God for them.
Think about this.
Yeah.
There was a time you couldn't go into Disney World without
Yeah.
the passport.
Without the vax passport.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
talk about
Right.
the haves and the have-nots,
Yeah,
the
that's
segregated
right.
and the unsegregated, right?
And they wanted that.
The most magical place in the world, they're not going to let you in.
That's right.
Yeah, how do you
Not
like that
unless
one?
you follow the
That's
rules,
right, yeah.
and the rules say do what we say.
That's right. Listen to the mouse. Listen to the mouse.
Yeah, exactly. You know, yeah. So,
Can I ask you a question about why
Absolutely.
you carry that book and not this book?
yeah, because this one is the first one I bought when I got to Montana
But
in
it's
2016.
not a statement about the importance of the U.S. Constitution versus the Montana Constitution?
No, this just so happens to be small enough that it fits in most
Okay,
of my
I gotcha.
pockets, and this guy's a bit larger.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't
no,
sure. I was like, I
right,
just want to
right.
check.
Yeah, no, I got this one when I moved to Billings in 2016, and it was published in Red Lodge, Montana.
There you go.
And you know, it was literally sitting at the front like an impulse buy at the counter, and I was like, yeah, I could use that too.
That's great.
And when I read it, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that's different. And I like it because it's modern and it's clear,
Yeah.
and it's larger in its declaration of our rights, and
Well,
more
it's also
expansive.
closer to our time, right? 1972.
Exactly,
Right?
1972.
This one,
Exactly.
Little different language in 1776.
Exactly. And yeah, it's just more accessible to me, right? The terms used are easier. Let's go to section 2, and we've already really hit on this. Self-government. The people have the exclusive right of governing themselves as a free, sovereign, and independent state. They may alter or abolish the Constitution and form of government whenever they deem it necessary. I heard it put fairly interestingly this morning. This is the right of revolution, not the right of revolt, not the right of violence, but the ability to change the
around.
system, and to make a change and to make a turn. And you know, I was heavily advocating for this in 21 and 2. I said, if this is our yardstick and we're measuring our government, are they living up to this agreement? And at the time, it was abundantly clear. We didn't really need the rhetoric at the time, and we didn't have to say, well, maybe. And I said, why aren't we calling for an abolition of this government if they're not going to support our rights?
Yeah.
I still ask that question. If they're not here to support me and everybody equally and provide a basic playing field, not equity, but equality of right, your equality to pursue happiness. If they're not providing that, why are we supporting them?
People have become indifferent is the wrong word, but comfortable in the
They're
rights that we
apathetic
have.
to it.
Apathetic's the right word.
Mhm.
And Stephen can probably relate more than I can, but when you go out of this country,
Mm-hmm.
you realize what rights we have here.
Yes, you do.
And so many people have never been out of this country, so they just expect this is
it.
the way it is.
This is how it is.
And so you get comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And then you get comfortable with the government handout. Then you get
Yeah.
comfortable with the government providing. And then
Right.
why work if the government's going to give me a check?
Well, then
And-
I'm going to vote for the guy that's going to keep that check coming.
Right.
Oh,
And
sure.
so there is an apathy to we're doing good, so people don't want to revolt. That causes change.
Right.
That causes
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah.
People don't realize the rights that they're giving up by being
Demoralized.
uninformed,
Yeah.
demoralized, lack of care.
Mm-hmm.
This election process has been interesting. My
Yeah.
phone rings off the hook. Who do I vote for? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And some of them came from people I'm like, oh my
You should
goodness,
know.
I thought you were engaged. And they weren't. And, and then you realize the other ones, I'm like, okay, I get it. This is not your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You're calling
You want an
your
opinion.
perceived expert in that field.
Mhm.
But you realize how disengaged our community is, not our community, our valley, our country is
Mhm.
in the voting process, in our election process. And I think that's why I nerded out on the Constitution as a kid. I always just,
Did you?
oh yeah, I'm a Revolutionary War guy. I love
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't a good student either. As a kid, I became when I became an adult and got my graduate degree, but as a kid, not at all. But the values that we have from that Constitution, the Bill of Rights primarily, is
Amazing.
crafted for our individual freedoms.
That's right.
And the ability that government can't do things, and designed for a limited government perspective.
Right.
But there's a call for action right now that
Yes.
people want the government to get more engaged. And that's probably one of the major.
Is that what you're hearing?
We have so much similarities,
Yeah.
but that's probably one of our major differences. Like there's a populace of the community, which is right here in the self-governments.
Yeah.
It's not right or wrong.
No.
There's a populace that wants to have more governance over things that are happening in this valley.
Okay.
And there's a populace that doesn't want that wants to
Right.
retain our freedoms and an independence and limited government.
Yeah.
But that's still within accordance with the law,
Yes.
because it says the citizens can deem it necessary.
That's right.
And so that's what I love about the election process.
Mm.
And one thing I would say that Steve and I, we've never said we're enemies.
No.
We shake hands
It's
and
clear you're
say
not.
hi to each other.
Here
like,
we are.
And
The county's going to be fine.
It
Either way,
is.
Whoever,
It is.
whoever wins. they're
I
gonna
am
be
confident
fine.
in that,
Yeah.
gentlemen.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and the public, and that's what's important about the election process is you get to hear two different ways to solve a problem,
Mhm.
and you vote accordingly, and
Yeah.
that's okay. And it doesn't have to be the negative vitriol things we're seeing in other races.
Agreed.
I wanted to bring up a point on, the apathy that people have. There is a concern that I have about, we're a conservative valley,
Yeah.
right? And I brought this up to men in my Bible study just this week, and I said, guys, what concerns me most is conservatives are less active. They say, it's in God's hands.
Mm.
I trust God. God's going to take care of this.
Mhm.
And then you look at, we'll call it the less conservative or the more left-leaning folks that they get very active for their social causes, right?
Yes.
And they march, they riot, they do all this stuff. They have
Mhm.
civil discourse. They do all of these things. And, when you look back at COVID,
Mhm.
they were very active in, you got to take it or you're killing me. They
That's
were very,
right.
very vocal. They were
Oh.
very vocal.
Oh,
And on
yeah.
our side, it was, it was just a polite disagreement. It wasn't so vicious, right?
Right. You
And
were not a demon.
I worry a lot
Right.
about conservatives. I pray the day that we don't all take up and move forward, because we would be the more capable group to do that. I
Mhm.
don't ever want that to happen. But the one thing I've said to everybody is, in this valley, we have 38,000 voters. Somehow we have 60,000 people who complain, but only 15,000 people vote, right? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't
that's-
understand. Like,
that's a
get
good point.
active, go.
Yeah.
I applaud them for having been on the school board.
Mhm.
We need more conservative people on the school board. We need we need people that have the same values and rights and that respect what you have here and respect
Right.
what we have here.
Absolutely.
To be sitting in those seats, and that they're not going to try to use government as a way to take away rights from us because it fits their social narrative.
That's right.
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 And that's one of the blessings,
I agree. Yeah.
to go with what you're saying, of what government we have in this valley.
Mm.
Like Stephen says, we'll be okay either way. you know, it'll change some paths here and there, but our county government, one of the best decisions I saw Jeff and the health board make about the COVID shot was get the shot, don't get the shot. Respect the person in their decisions.
Right.
Don't get in their face.
Yep.
Wash your hands.
Wash
If you're
your
sick,
hands.
stay home. I was like,
Right.
No,
oh my goodness, that was
my
the most
favorite
common
one-
sense
No.
thing I've ever seen the government do, especially during that time.
Right.
And that's where I just fell in love with our government here, that one, they listen to you.
Yes,
but
they
two,
do.
that common sense decision of, no. Get the shot. That's your freedom. Or
I'll-
don't get
I'll
the
take
shot.
it a
That's
step-
your freedom.
I'll take it a step further. Sheriff Holton's on record saying you cannot speak law into existence.
That's
right.
true.
There is no law to say you
That's
must be
right.
wearing a mask.
That's
so
right.
if a private
not gonna
if
enforce
a
it.
private company on their private property wants to say, hey Matt, you got to wear a mask, and he says I don't want to wear it, well, I'll trespass you out. But we're not arresting people for not wearing a mask.
That's right.
No.
You cannot speak that into existence. There was
No.
common sense here.
Yeah.
South
That
of
did not-
South of County Line Road,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is where you had it, because
That's
as
right.
soon as you came into the airport or you landed up there, it was a totally different world where they
Yeah.
believed that their mayor could speak into existence a law,
Right.
and that they were going to use their police
Mhm.
to implement their belief,
Right.
And that's not the way.
It was criminal.
That's not the way it works.
It was absolutely
Yeah.
criminal.
Yeah, and
It's an overreach of government.
Yes.
You know, and somebody had asked me about that during this campaign process. They said, where do you stand on vax? And I said, get the vax, don't get the vax. Like, that's your personal belief.
That's your body.
I'm not
it's
an
your choice.
anti-vaxxer. I'm
Right.
just not getting that vax.
That's
Like,
right.
There's a difference.
Yeah,
And
sure.
somebody else said, well, Matt, what happens when the health board says this and this? I said, I think government's role is to advise. Hey, this is the data we're seeing. We've got ticks being spread places,
Yeah.
and this
Yes,
is
we
what's
do.
causing things, and this is an option for you to do. But the government should never be forcing that.
I agree.
And he was super happy about that. He has a law background, and I'm like, good, you're not going to sue me, thank you. But I truly, in my heart of hearts, the government should not be telling me what needles. I'm not in the military. When I'm in the military, you can do that. I'm property of the military.
I don't agree with that.
Unfortunately,
Even then.
That one was
and
a
we
tough
have to be
one for
careful
me.
when we have that power, right?
but they. Yeah, I do. I don't agree with it, but I know when you're in the military,
Yeah.
you're a piece of property.
That's right.
Unfortunately.
That's right.
And
Is it
so
chattel slavery?
right. Right. Do I agree with the overreaching things? But ask anybody who went overseas. They got 20 million vaccines. They didn't even know what was happening. They were just getting needles in them.
Right.
Way before COVID.
Yes,
But
that's
the
right.
citizen, the population, you can't tell me what to do.
No.
You can't tell me what needle to put into my
Right.
arm.
Right.
Going back to where the sheriff said, yeah, the private organizations can do that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Those are individual freedoms and rights that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really that balance of government, that government's job is not to do, it is to inform. I'm a big believer in
I like that.
PSAs, and hey, we're
Sure.
going to educate you. We're going to tell you
Yeah.
these are the things that we're hearing from the NIH lab. This is what they're telling us.
Right.
We're going to put it out there. You
Sure.
make the decision on what you want to do with
Right.
it, and that's right here.
Yes, it
That's
is.
Article 1 and Article 2. You figure out what you want to do with your family.
Personal autonomy.
Correct.
And bodily autonomy.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it funny how the my body, my choice crowd
Yeah, it worked.
all of a sudden just
Right.
forgot about that principle, and they're like, no,
Yeah.
no, you don't get a choice on this. This is just the way it is.
Right.
And you know what was funny is that at the end of 2020, during the election period, when Trump had initiated Operation Warp Speed to fast track the shot, Biden and Harris were against it.
That's right.
What changed? How did that happen? Weird. It seems as though there might have been an agenda. It seems as though there might have been a handoff, you know?
Well, look, there is a thing is what do they call it now? Trump derangement syndrome, right?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you witnessed it this week when Mark Cuban went up to meet with the president. You know, he voted for Harris. He supported Harris. He has said some pretty vicious things against Trump. But that is two billionaires who decided to get together and fix a problem about drug prices. Mike Cuban had his, and then there was Trump RX, and they got together and talked about it. When they walked out, there wasn't a person that asked Mark Cuban about availability of drugs for people, price of drugs, this and that. All they want to know is, so now are you Republican? So now do you support Trump? So now are you this? So
Right.
I mean, it was all
You
about
shook
that.
his hand.
It was, yeah, and then you're giving them credibility, and you're doing this, and Mark Cuban would say, no, I'm trying to bring drugs at a more affordable cost to
Yeah.
people, but the media, the people who want to craft our our thoughts. They just have this one thing they're doing. And so you talk about the Harris Pies thing, whether or not there was something from one person to another. If it was Trump's baby, it was bad. When it became their baby, it was good.
That's right.
And if any human didn't sit back and look at that and go,
That's
well, that's weird.
yeah.
Right? I mean, that's all
Right.
you gotta say. That's weird.
huge.
Like, why did that happen? It's
I think it's telling.
yeah.
Not to jump on Peter's conspiracy theories, but there
I have a
is-
PhD.
right? There is some good evidence that we are living in a psyop,
Yes.
and social media is driving that.
Yes.
And obviously, our mainstream media is
Complicit.
complicit in the 96% is all the same news. So if you research any amount of history, the media is the driver of propaganda.
It is.
And what's amazing is when you shut your phone off, when you shut your television off, and you go sit on your porch and you just look out and you're like, I'm good here.
Yep.
And do we solve problems in the valley? Sure. Not near the level that the DC issues are having.
Right.
And at the end of the day, all politics are local. How do we make our lives better individually and collectively in Ravalli County? And that's what's important.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's talking to each other. I've seen people go down to and march in the county commissioner's office and talk about stuff that's not relevant here. We don't have the voter integrity issues that you're bringing up from Florida or
Georgia
Arizona
or-
and Georgia.
yeah.
We don't have that. So
Right.
turn your news off. And these are representatives that are elected officials too that have done some of this, where find out what we're doing here. And when you sit down and you count ballots, and when you sit down and you see how we're doing it here, and you understand that no, our modems don't have those access, and all politics are local, and it's important to know that our sheriff's department picks up ballots in Florence under lock and key. They drive it to Stevensville High School. One of them watches the ballots, the other one goes and picks up the next batch, and
There's a
we
process.
have an amazing system here. So to fall into the rhetoric that we're all, and I know I
Yeah, we
took us a
gotta-
different direction a little
Sure,
bit here,
but no,
but
I
it's
get
but
your
it's
point.
relative because we can continue to talk about DC, continue to talk about those things. How much is that really affecting us on a day-to-day basis?
Right.
And I think, and that's where my heart of heart is. I've always believed all politics are local.
Yeah.
You know, that we have to affect a change here. Whichever one of us gets elected, we'll see our neighbors at Super One.
That's
We'll
right.
see our
You're
neighbors
gonna
at the
be
post
accountable.
office.
That's right.
So
Right.
we're not flying in one week a month to have a district day.
And make decrees and go,
So-
wherever.
Yeah, so
Right.
I think at the end of the day, when we can go down the rabbit hole of all the stuff that's happening, of which we have no control. We have limited control over. We
Right.
still get to vote for who our representatives
Yeah.
are, but at the end of the
But
day,
what
what
do
they're
we-
doing in DC, we don't have control of. We have
Yeah.
a lot of control here in the valley as citizens to talk to our commissioners. Our three commissioners have open door policies.
Yeah.
Our public meetings are
Always
very
available for
always
public
available,
comment.
always attended, and people can always come
Yeah.
and get heard. And whether or not the decisions are made in favor, at least you're heard. Because
Yeah.
in other locations,
Right.
public comment is, okay, here's your 2 minutes, and they don't listen.
And they don't even listen.
But they've
And
given
it's-
you your First
yeah.
Amendment right to talk for
It's
2
wound
minutes.
up in there. I mean, we
That's
got to
right.
have transparency, right?
That's
I mean,
right.
it's
A
part of
right
our-
to know.
it's
And
part
a
of
right
our
to
constitution.
participate.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that process here.
Yep.
I want to comment and actually admit a bit of guilt because I do pay attention to the bigger picture, and I am guilty of imposing what I see going on out there and then using that lens and looking at Ravalli and being like, well, where are they? What are they doing? And is it accurate? No, not all the time. But there are some things.
Sure.
And we can get to them.
Yeah,
But
I don't think
Yeah.
you could ignore what's
Sure.
happening on the grander scale,
But
because
I
here's the
agree with
thing: the grander scale is driven by very few people,
yes,
and those very few people are still interested in the 2 federal votes we have here and the House votes.
Yes,
we
they
have here,
are.
right? I mean, they're still very interested in that. The amount of money that's going to be spent on these next 2 federal elections in this state
Most expensive election.
is going to be
Yeah.
it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's going to be. I mean, how many times did you guys hear 2 years ago, shady?
Right.
Right.
I mean, like they were going to do anything in the world to win that spot, and it's going to be the same thing again.
It
So,
is.
you know, while I agree 100% with him that, you know, what we get to enjoy here, the part of the process that we get to be a part of, it's unlike many other places.
Yeah.
But we are not immune from some of the national
Policies
things
from-
coming
yeah,
our way, and
right,
especially
yeah.
because, and this is the one that gets me. Well, you know, we're running for county commissioner and the things we do here in the county, but there's this whole group of people about to go off to Helena, right? And where there's going to be lobbyists and there's going to be all sorts of people that are trying to pass. I mean, they're trying to win these elections down here. The amount of outside money being spent on that right now is unbelievable. Someone's going to win it, and then they're all going to go up there. They're going to make decisions that whichever one of us is sitting in the seat, we have to go and follow. We have to abide by these rules, right?
Yeah, if they write laws,
and,
they're going to
so
follow them.
that gets to Helena. Now, who's influenced Helena? It's the people.
There's
look
a
at where all
chain.
these PACs are from. They're from Virginia and D.C. and these areas, right? And they're trying to spend the money here to get us to have to make a decision that we're down here. So, I'd be very careful. I do like shutting off my TV, but I am guilty. And I do two things. Wednesdays, I won't say on your camera what I call it, but on Wednesday in the morning before I leave the house, I watch CNN for about an hour. And I look and I say, well, that's weird.
But it's important.
But I'll give you one. When I did live overseas, Israel invaded Syria, and I had a U.S. news channel, I had the BBC, and I had Al Jazeera. Okay, and I saw it happen, and it says, today Israel invaded Syria. That was American news, and it was because Syria, they said on the news, had thrown some bombs over the wall. So here comes Israel. Then you get to BBC. Today the aggressor, Israel, has invaded Syria. Then you get to Al Jazeera. Israel with American warplanes and American this and American that has now invaded Syria. By the way, all three of those were true.
Right.
But the people they were talking to, the message had to be told differently so they can cater to their
target
group,
audience.
Which is why I like to go and watch CNN for a minute. I think, really, that's how they're saying that.
Yeah, right.
Because most of the time what they're saying is not 100% falsehood.
Correct.
You
have to start with a kernel of
some
truth.
kernel in there, but then it goes this direction. I think, well, no wonder. And then I go back and quickly wash myself, and I watch the other channel for a minute. But it's.
I think it is important to hear the perspective of those you would consider to be your adversaries or your opposers. It is important to know them because you have to be able to refute them, right? You have to know what they're messaging so that you can either agree with it in part, if there's a kernel of truth, and then try to dispel the rest of the propaganda that they like to build around that kernel.
I live by a way that says, hey, let's sit down and talk. I might not agree with you, but I might learn something from you.
That's right.
And I would like to at least listen. And I can end a conversation going, I get why you're making that point. I don't agree with it.
Right.
But hey, it was nice sitting down talking to you. Right.
Absolutely.
And that's the way it used to be. You could sit down and have a political discussion, be on opposite sides of the spectrum. But what happened is, we used to be this far from the center. Now there's a whole group of people who have gone this far from the center, and there's just no tolerance of even listening to another side anymore. And I think that you got to be very careful with that because these positions we're going for, we're not going to be in that position to just represent a Republican, a Democrat, an independent.
No, you have to represent everybody.
We have to represent anybody.
Everybody's
And if you
to some
can't,
extent.
if you can't sit down and when you sit at the table say, I might learn something from this conversation, then you shouldn't have that conversation with them, right? If you're just going in and saying, hey, my goal right now is to prove you wrong. My goal right now is to make sure you think the way I think.
Right.
That's not the way to approach
No,
these
it's
things.
not. I agree.
And that's where I was going to go with that.
Yeah.
I don't. We have become a nation of identifying ourselves by politics.
Yeah.
And I think that's coordinated. I think that's planned.
I do agree.
I think there's a lot
It's to be divisive. That's what they're
right.
trying to do.
Divide and conquer.
And the concern I have with that is once that occurs, then we will all war with each other, and then big government will come in and we'll become a socialist nation.
Yeah.
I had a friend a long time ago. I hate those Democrats. I don't, because they're Americans, and they're Montanans, and they're Bitterrooters, and they're my neighbor, right? And when we get elected in this position, like Stephen said, we represent everybody.
That's right.
I want to find that common ground. I think we have far more common ground than not.
That's the common ground right there.
Although we think we don't have common ground, we do.
We do.
We do.
Absolutely.
Even within our party right now, that is so divided and
Think
toxic.
About it. Yeah, the fact that they're fracturing.
We have far more common ground with one another. But like Stephen said, is we're hitting people in the head with hammers instead of listening to other sides, and instead of understanding that could cost us some election seats. Like we could lose some seats to the D's right now, and I don't think we should ever lose the ability to talk with one another, to listen with one another, and find the common ground. And if we have a difference, that's okay. It really is. Until you're invading my schools and chopping my kids' genitalia off, then we're going to fight. Other than that, You're 18. You choose. You do you. That's what America values all about.
The America that I grew up in, there was a constant phrase and saying, and I hold it dear, and that is that I may not agree with you, but I will fight and die for your right to say it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 100%.
And we all need to remember that.
For 20 years, I was a cop, and I enforced laws, but I also protected people's First Amendment rights.
Yeah.
And I'm a constitutional law professor, and we talk about that in the class. I said, you know, the First Amendment's important. If the KKK is marching down the street and they have the permits to do what they were going to do, I have to protect their First Amendment right. I may not agree with them,
Right.
but I have to protect
But
their
I'm
First Amendment
obligated.
rights. When BLM does the same thing, I may not agree,
Right.
but I have to protect them.
That's right.
The pro-abortion, the anti-abortion, I may not agree, but I have to protect their constitutional rights, and I think that's imperative for people to understand. So I don't think the Democrats are my enemy at all.
Right.
I really don't.
Sure.
You know, the extreme socialists, the AOC people, yeah, maybe. They are.
Well, it depends
but
on their behavior, right?
it's behavior.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Is
Their conduct in public.
And I don't think there's common ground between a socialist ideology and the freedoms that we have
That's
here.
the problem
That's
I have
the
with them.
push.
It's not that they're,
Yeah.
it's not who they are, what they are. It's the fundamental beliefs that they have that I cannot get on
Reconcile.
board with.
Right.
I can't get on board with this socialism. I mean,
Right.
it's back to Marx,
Correct.
being Marxist, and it's just there's plenty of places around the world where I've seen it happen. I've seen it go. It's not successful.
Absolutely.
And
It is
I
never
am,
successful.
yeah, I'm not going to sit down and let them try to convince me that socialism or Marxism is correct, right? I've read it,
Yeah.
I've looked at it, we've
Oh.
studied it. It's
The verdict is
that,
in.
yeah, that is not. That's one of the ones. You're right. I'm not going to sit
Yeah.
down with AOC and Bernie and have that discussion. Now, if Bernie wants to sit down with me and discuss, hey, we got a mental health issue in
got
this
this
valley
data
that we
center
need
I
to
wanna
talk
put
about.
in.
Yeah.
It'll
That-
help
that
with
we-
mental
that-
health.
that we want to talk about here. I'll have that discussion. But
Yeah.
as soon as he says, well, the best way to deal with that is let's take all the money from all the people, give it to the government, let them dole it out, and everything's gonna be fine. I mean,
Right.
we're done. This conversation's done.
We practice socialism in this country with our social welfare net, Social Security, Medicare,
in the
Medicaid,
name.
government subsidies, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a national function. Are we edging toward, or have we become a nationalist, socialist state?
I think there are people trying to push us further and further that direction,
Yeah.
right? I
And they're communists.
Yeah. So the thing is, I mean, look. Here's the thing, is, do I think that as a society we can elect together to take care of people who have worked their lives and done things and have a safety net for them? That's what it was created for. Was back in the time. It was a
Sure.
safety net. It was not supposed to be what
And it was a
sustains your
temporary
life.
thing.
Right.
It's
Right.
not supposed to be there, right? So now you say that's what that was there for. Now we start talking to these people who say, hey, what we really need to do is we need to redistribute the wealth. Elon Musk doesn't need all that money, and all these people down there need the money. And if we just had a minimum wage for everybody, and we could move them all up, and they don't understand economics and the cost and
agree.
what it's going to be, and
Yeah.
this way it's going to go. So
Right.
you do have that. And then I will just be honest, I do struggle with the healthcare one, right? I own a business. I don't have anybody who works for me. I got to pay for my insurance, right? And I think, man, this is awfully expensive for what I'm.
More than it should be.
Yeah, I'm pretty healthy, and the only thing I need every now and then is a prescription, and
Right.
knock on wood, God bless.
Little
hopefully it all
antibiotics
works out.
maybe, or
That's what I need right now.
Right.
But then I start looking at it and saying, well, I'm pretty fortunate that I can write the check.
Yeah.
And then I start thinking, well, certain people can't. And I said,
Right.
man, as a society, how do you build a system that provides a hand up but not a hand out?
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you
How?
do that?
Right.
And I don't know that we figured it out.
I don't
right?
think so.
I
Right.
think
I think the welfare to work program is a start,
could be.
right?
I
It
mean,
gives you that hand up to get you out of that realm, but there's certain people that can't function out of that.
Well, and there's certain people that cannot function and perform a daily job. They
But when
really
you create a system
So,
where I make more money
yeah.
staying at home than working,
It-
there's the
and-
problem.
And there,
And
that's
so-
a major problem as well, right?
I tell you,
Yeah.
so you've mentioned that I had the chance to live in other places. So I lived in London where they had a system that the more children you had, the more money you got, and if you're under a certain level, you got a government provided house.
Yep.
The number
wow.
of families,
have the same thing
families
here.
that had 4 to 6 kids
Yep.
in a government provided house,
Yes.
and then you had to build them. So like, let's say here's one of these beautiful neighborhoods around here.
Yeah.
This beautiful neighborhood right here, London wouldn't have let them build that unless a certain percentage of them were of this row housing type stuff to put
Gotcha.
in there, right? And I'm
Right.
looking at it going, this isn't working. This is like a negative, this is an incentive
That's correct.
It's a net
to
drain.
keep you on they called it the dole.
It is.
You know,
Yeah,
for as
that's
long,
right.
for
Yeah.
longer, and those people can never get off of it.
That's
now.
right.
They are lifelong
Welfare recipients.
welfare recipients.
We have that
And,
here.
You know,
They were handed down to
To an
their
extent,
kids.
we do.
We
Yeah.
really do. That
Yeah.
Section 8 program, and it's unfortunate in that
Yeah.
in the inner city populations.
How do
I don't think we have that here to the abuse that in Ravalli County that they are
Sure.
in the urban settings.
Well, and it's population based, right?
Sure.
It's probably always a particular percentage, no matter where you are. How do we provide charity without compulsion, without force, without additional taxation? How do
the
we
way it was
provide?
supposed to be
Yeah.
was our churches
Sir.
were
Right.
supposed to take
right.
care
Correct.
of this, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I should be allowed to go to church and talk to my pastor and the groups
Explain
that
your
give the money.
difficulties and-
Well, but also, what I love about the church that we go to is I can tithe generally to the church,
Yeah.
or I can tithe. Say I want to tithe specifically to that.
This
I wanna-
individual.
well,
or
to
this-
that effort,
to that program.
to that
To that
program,
program.
right? And our church does have.
Do you attend the same
We
church?
attend the
Yes.
same
That's
church,
great.
so it's
That's great.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
almost eerie, but you know what I love about it is they do help the community, but also they do outreach to other places, and there's just so many things that they're doing. I would much rather you give me more of my money
Absolutely.
and then let me go to
Let
the
you
church
decide.
and say, let me do this. Or hey,
Right.
even if I don't attend a church, but my neighbor's struggling, I'm gonna go over and say, hey. I've got a friend that's down in Florida. He's Homeland Security, and he was twice this year. He's been put on furlough. I've written him checks twice saying, "Hey, when it all comes, and the government eventually pays him back.
Right, but he was shut
But
down.
that is my money, and so
Yeah.
I will decide what I'm going to do with my money. I'm going to give it to you,
And
so
that
that you
is
can
your
do
right.
that. And you know what?
Yeah.
He is my friend, and he did not feel. He knew. He's like, well, I'm glad that you're here for me again. And I said, it's there, and I know you're going to give it back to me, but that was my money. If the government had taken more of my money, they already decided not to give my friend the money.
Right.
Right? And I'm like,
Oh, that's a good
who
point.
are you
Right.
to not give my friend
Well,
the money?
and how many people would have their hands in that pot before it got to your
yeah,
buddy?
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
I'm telling you, every dollar I got,
Yeah.
every dollar I gave, he got.
Yes.
Every dollar he paid back, I got.
Yes.
Right? No
Perfect.
government in the middle of that. And I think
And the data shows we are more benevolent when that happens.
That's
when,
right.
When Stephen can control his money and not the government, we will give more.
Because the
we're being-
reward is yours.
Yes, and we know where that money's going, whether it's faith-based organization or individual, like you said. And so you ask, like, can we tax? No, it's not the government's role in any way, shape, or form to be doing that, in my opinion.
I agree.
Well,
You know,
I agree.
Less programs and
More
that-
self-sufficiency.
and that gives people the ability to do that. You know, when we start pulling back some of the tax money, you know, and I think Doge started that on the federal level. They didn't even scratch the surface of really
Well,
what's
yeah,
going on.
that's the worst part.
But-
Right?
Yeah,
All
right.
that effort, the 256
and by the
billion
way,
is what?
think about it.
Yes.
They won. What did they do? They went after him and his
Yes.
businesses and all of this stuff. And, you know, they claimed, I'm not upset about what he's doing. I'm upset about who he is. And I'm like, no, you don't like where he's looking because he's getting too close to where you're
To the
getting the
truth.
check.
To your honeypot.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
you know, now that they're going through and looking at all this Medicare, fraud,
People
and
are seeing
there's a lot of people
Oh,
stepping
it's
down
huge.
right now
Yep.
that are trying to say, oh, I don't want to be a,
Right,
I'm
I don't
not-
want to be implicated.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need to move out of the way, and
Right.
because I don't think any side is immune to it.
No,
it's
we're all guilty.
It's gonna be
What's that kid's name that's doing that right now?
Nick Shirley.
Nick Shirley.
Yeah, he's done a pretty good
We've
job.
known about this for years.
Sure.
I had a buddy of mine that he got medically retired out of our department and went to go work for the county welfare department. And we were a hard charging department. You took people to jail a lot, right? A high crime area. So he took that same culture into the welfare department. He gets off probation, drops 12 cases on the desk of his supervisor. Here you go. Supervisor goes, what are you doing?
My
I
job.
got these. And he goes,
Oh, we can't do that.
no. He's
Do you know how much trouble we're gonna get
leave
in?
2 of those, take the rest back to your desk, and start parsing them out every couple of weeks. He's like, if I turn those in right now, it would look like we have a welfare fraud problem.
He's like,
we
well,
do. And that,
We're not allowed to address that.
correct. And
Yeah.
so this has been, so Nick Shirley is just doing great things,
Yeah.
and that I pray that the government continues to do. We have it in Montana, probably not as widespread as
Right.
California and Minnesota, but it needs to be addressed.
It does.
But it's also the system that's enabling that.
Yes,
you
it
know,
is.
and the system has to be corrected.
Yes.
I hope that there's some courageous congressmen in DC that are looking into that, because the American people are done being taxed out of their minds, which is why maybe the tech levy was important in Stevensville. I'm not a favor of it, and I think we need to get back to books.
Right.
But no levy will pass in Ravalli County for a while. We're being taxed out of our minds. I hope the road one.
Yeah, I hope the road one does too. I don't think it will.
Right.
I don't think there's a single person out there who's going to let
Even
you.
things that they say.
Right.
That they're going to let you take one more dollar from them, because why? They don't trust that we're doing what we should be doing with their money.
That's right.
And if you don't have trust in the person you're handing to, why do you want to hand them more?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't.
Why would I give a heroin addict money?
That's right.
Somebody with a needle sticking out of their arm.
But you're going to give them new teeth in California.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I know.
That's the problem. It's not the addiction.
It's hard to be consistent, and kind of going back to, our previous statement, truth is consistency, right?
Yeah.
And if we're not consistent in our application of governance, people have a right to be distrustful.
That's right.
And they had better be. But what I like is that you're saying, well, then get involved, please.
Yeah.
And one thing that Jeff said, in 21, he's like, look, you got to come down and you got to talk. And he said this to our group. He said, you got to come down and you got to say what you want to say, because if you don't, it's going to be just the other side. It's just your antithesis down there.
These guys are great down there. I mean,
Yeah,
I
they
watched you at the public health board. I was there when you did the last one. And, in the job I had before, I always watch people, right? And I thought, when you got up, I'd never met you, and
Right.
I got you, and I hear you introduce yourself as a resident dissident. I said, oh, and I said, this is going to be interesting. You're the only guy I ever saw walking with the camera and the whole thing. I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And you start to talk, and I was listening to you, but I was watching them. And at that point, they could have all gone to this or the
Right,
phone
yeah.
or this or that. They all stayed engaged with you.
Yeah,
there
they
was
did.
head nodding, there was this, and
Yeah.
seeing what you had there, and then a question or two at the end. And,
Right.
and I thought, well, this is good government right here.
It is.
This is good government, and we do have a lot of these boards and things like that that are responsible for working on things, and I don't think people understand just how much a county commissioner does, right? Each one of these have a county commissioner on it, and so they do the whole morning, then they do the evenings, and then
Right.
they do the afternoons, and then they, it's
And then you got to do it on the weekends,
Yeah,
and then you got to run into your buddy or a constituent or
Yeah.
whatever, and they have a concern, and you got to
but
respectfully hear them out.
but look down there
Yeah.
at these guys, right? Like, we have Jeff in 12 years now. We've got Chilcott over 20. I mean, like, these are folks that really, really care. Dan Hulls is, he's always been in the valley here.
Yeah.
He's already announced that he won't run again, but he will have, that'll be 8
Correct.
years then for him.
Is that right? Okay,
Yeah.
at the end of this term.
At the end of this
Yeah.
term, he's going to do 2 terms,
Mhm.
which, I hope they fill that spot with another ag person, right? Because you have
Yeah.
to have a good balance on there,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm surprised as I got into this. I thought, oh, there's so much to fix down there.
Oh,
Like,
there's-
there's not
yeah.
a whole lot to fix down
Right.
there from the people side of it.
Mm.
There's things that we can look at,
Mhm.
and the thing that you always have to be very careful of is, I would say Matt's done the same as I. You will not have heard 100 campaign promises from us,
Mm.
because you overcommit, underachieve is what's
That's
going
it.
to happen.
I agree
right?
with that. Yeah.
If I have 3 things. I'm not going to say what they are right now because he's right there. But I got 3 things
political opponent.
written down
Is
inside.
that all we have left?
Yeah, written down inside my book, and these are the 3 things that, if I can be involved in these 3 things by the end of the first year, it will have been a fantastic year,
Cool.
right? And
Ambitions are good.
you just have to say there's a couple things I need to take and focus in on. Right?
Which parts of the elephant may I eat at this
That's
moment?
right. That's right. And,
Because it is that big.
Yeah, and I do listen to some of these other state and federal politicians. Boy, they're going to somehow fix everything.
Oh yeah, tomorrow.
They're going to fix it all.
Yeah, magic wand.
And I'm just like, we're fortunate because there's not 1,000 things to fix.
Yeah.
In the county, there's probably 100 things we could do a little better, and just having a different perspective on it is
Yeah.
going to give it a different
new set
look.
of eyes.
It's going to give it a
That's
different
right.
look, right? And one of the good things and bad things about the person we're replacing is he's been there 26 years.
Right.
That's great.
And he's done his job, and he's done his
But
duty.
it's great, but also when you've done it for 26 years, you think the way you've done it for 26 years is the right way to do it for 26 years. The good thing
Right.
is neither one of us have a way that we've done it.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
whatever you get, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
Our hope
Yeah.
is, if he gets in, I'll pray for him, and I'm sure if I get in, he'll pray for me that we
Yeah.
do a good job. Right. And
Absolutely.
that,
And still talk to each other about the
yeah,
ideas. We were
right.
talking. Yeah,
Yeah, that the different way we're going to do it, what you're praying for is that difference results in a
positive, productive
change,
change.
right?
That's correct.
And
Right.
you know, I can even tell you, you know, Jeff and I, we don't always see eye to eye and everything. I mean, there's been a couple of them publicly, but after it, Jeff comes to me and goes, "That was fun."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What?"
Exactly.
He goes, "It was fun that we don't agree on everything and this and that."
Right.
And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, you know, at the end of the day, the reason that there's an odd number is you're just not going to always have 100% agreement. There's going to need to be that third voter
Right.
sometimes.
The
that,
breaking factor.
Yeah, that you can't
Yeah.
do it. But no, it's we're pretty darn fortunate in this valley.
I don't want to take up your whole day. How much time do we have? Do we still have time, or are
I-
there
20,
appointments?
20, 30 minutes.
20,
Yeah,
30 more?
I can
Okay.
go too, yeah.
Let's move on to one more section, or at least 2 or 5
Yeah.
or 10. We'll get through the whole thing. You can't leave until we're
Yeah, that's
done.
right. It's time to start speed reading.
Staying at section 3.
Section 3,
Okay.
inalienable rights. I say it a little bit differently than a lot of folks.
Say it again.
That's the right way to say it.
Inalienable.
That's right.
Inalienable.
It means you cannot take it away.
That's right.
It's not something that can be leaned or levied. It can only be violated. These are my inherent God-given rights.
That's correct.
And it cannot be taken or, that is to say, temporarily leaned upon in order to change your conduct. This is your inalienable God-given right to free speech or
Correct.
participation in government. And it can only be violated by force. So, all persons are born free and have certain inalienable rights. They include the right to a clean and healthful environment and the rights of pursuing life's basic necessities, enjoying and defending their lives and liberties, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and seeking their safety, health, and happiness in all lawful ways. In enjoying these rights, all persons recognize corresponding responsibilities. That was one of my favorites in 2021 because it laid it out right there, and it showed the principle, and it showed the betrayal. Because, and I understand that Ravalli County can't just stand up to DC.
Yeah.
It can stand up to the state,
Mm-hmm.
and I wish we had done a better job standing up to the mob of fear that was created.
So what could we have done better? Because as
Yeah.
I said earlier, the county did say
Yes,
respect of acts, don't
Yes.
respect of acts.
Yes.
Or respect people's choices either way,
Right,
and wash your hands. And
Yeah.
if you're sick, stay home.
right.
What would you have liked to them done better?
Houses of public accommodation, grocery stores, even privately owned businesses cannot discriminate against people because they don't agree with their perceived political ideas or social origins. What I would hope and what I see codified is that only upon a confirmed test of a communicable disease can somebody be withheld and restricted from public accommodation. There was no way to test me because I wasn't going to comply.
Right.
I was not going to wear a mask. And if I wanted to go into Bob Ward's and be unmolested by the staff, I have that right.
But doesn't Bob Wards have the right to not entertain your business?
Doesn't their private property
Private
rights
property rights.
allow
Not
them
if
to not permit
they're a
you?
public accommodation. Not if their doors are open and they're licensed as a business.
I don't know if you're right on that.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
I think I might agree with you if it's Super One and it's food, but I think a private property right can trump that. Most places have the right to refuse service. I think their private property rights can do that. You have no right to be able to have to go in and buy a pair of shoes or buy a sleeping bag. That's not a privilege enshrined in our Constitution. So I think their private property rights do trump that. And I hear what you're saying. I see it, but I don't think that constitutionally, at least, your rights trump their rights as a private
I
business.
feel like it might be different, like in New York at one of these government-provided
Yes.
grocery stores, right? A government
Yeah,
service.
that's a new thing, huh?
Yeah.
I'm
That's
sure
gonna go well.
eggs are going to be cheap there, but
And healthy.
I'll tell you why I do struggle a little bit with, and I'd leave this one to Matt because he teaches the Constitution, right? But I think about times where people have been protected going to court where they say, hey, my religious belief says I don't believe in gay marriage. No, I'm not saying mine
Yeah,
does, but I'm
no,
just saying
but as an
the
example,
property
sure.
owner does, and so if they
Right.
don't want to make a cake
Right.
with
You
two
cannot
men on top
compel
of
them.
it, I cannot compel them to provide service to that person,
Okay.
right? So I think, all right,
Okay.
they've won that one.
Mhm.
So what would say that the super one as a private entity also has a private belief in a mask
Mhm.
that is, that the person who's, getting married to a man says, well, this is my belief, and they're saying, well, no, this is my belief, and they're saying the courts have sided with the company
Yes,
to
they
say
have.
that the
Yeah.
company has the right to refuse the service.
Right.
And that's where I'm saying, just
Yeah.
looking on, preceding law, case law that's already said it, it would seem like they do have a supported right to say no.
Mhm.
And I'm not so sure that a hospital would have the right to say no. I'm not so sure a government.
Anybody receiving government
Government subsidies,
Mhm.
government this, government that. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So I don't. I'm just going off of what I've seen in other places versus, what.
And it's
what a
case by
person-
case. I don't think there's a black and white
It's
answer
very
to
hard
it.
to be. Yeah.
Right,
You're
because I mean, because that's where I was like, well, I don't think they can deny you food, but I do think they can deny you a sleeping
Shoes.
bag. Yeah.
Right. Or a fishing rod.
right.
Or, yeah.
So,
Right.
But but the thing I will tell you why I think you could be denied food is at the time they were also doing in-home delivery, right? So if they did not want to let you into their facility, but you still have a way to get the food,
yeah,
then
that's why it's
I-
case by case.
Yeah, I would
It is.
struggle
Yeah,
with
it's
that.
more case by case,
Yeah.
and it does get gray. Let's suppose
So-
I don't have the access
to internet and all that.
to
other
internet,
stuff. Yeah.
and I cannot make the order for food, or I don't have a credit card to pay for it,
Yeah.
or whatever it happens to be. And now the net result at the end is that I'm being deprived of something that is publicly available to everybody but me, as a result of my inability to attain, a vax card,
Yeah.
my inability or unwillingness to wear a mask, or just my inability to attain and maintain a phone connection or an app, these types of things.
You feel there's a government role there.
I feel that the government enabled and propagated the fear, the psyop, that enabled my fellow citizens to use their fear as a means for discrimination. And I believe it violated my right to my own political ideas and not to be discriminated against because of my political ideas and social origin.
Do you know the one I would have sided with you on more quickly on social? What'd you call it? You thought the government should have stepped in to stop the social or the what'd you call it? There's a word you used. That
Discrimination?
No, that people were getting too vocal about it or causing chaos or whatever it was. But the one where I was going to go with it is where I think what was disappointing to me through that time is how it was just so unadulterated with the government information being pounded down on us. The fear mongering.
the fear mongering.
Yeah, the fear mongering that you
And
say,
that
right?
was, and the result in that
Yeah.
effect was that
Yeah.
people were being deprived.
Well, and so no, but they were being deprived, but also what was happening. We talked about dividing us on religious,
Yeah.
on political
Yes.
titles.
Yeah.
Well, they did their best. I mean, their ad said, if your neighbor's not wearing a mask, basically they're saying they're trying to kill you.
Yeah,
right?
you're gonna
It's
die.
kind of what they were
Sounds
trying
very
to say.
SS to me.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to say, right?
Report your
And
neighbor's
so what-
tattletale.
Yes, see something, say something.
So what did
Yeah.
that do to you? It did that when you walked into the Super One,
Mhm.
it allowed the media to already paint you as a villain.
That's right.
Right, because you're
That's
coming
right.
in to murder them.
Right.
Is what was happening. And
Yeah.
now, what was interesting is during that time, my dad is he's probably had 5 boosters, right? He believes in it. He's 75 years old and
Mhm.
76 years old. He may have still gotten one recently. I don't know the answer to it. I don't stop him from doing it, but he's not
How
going to
could
make
you?
us
Rightfully.
Individual
Yeah.
freedoms. Yeah.
So, but what was interesting to me is when he moved here, he moved into my house towards the end of COVID.
Mhm.
But he's diabetic, and he believed that he was at risk, so he continued to wear a mask. And the opposite thing happened.
It flipped.
Right? It
Now,
flipped that in this county, him wearing a mask, people would say, "No, what are you from California?"
what do you do?
Well, guess what?
Yeah.
He did move here from California. so he kind of
now we're practicing social discrimination.
That's right, and so
Yeah.
it
It
good
hasn't
for the
been-
goose, good for the gander. It flipped over on them here is what
Yes.
happened, right? Once people became more aware, once people became just tired of it,
Right.
as soon as someone walked in with a mask,
Now it's a
now
symbol.
it's a bad deal. And
Yeah,
what's really
right.
interesting to me on that is, I've been traveling to China and Japan for the last 25 years.
Mhm.
Masks were very common.
Yep.
And I found it very weird when I'd get on the subway and I'd see someone with a mask on, and I'd say,
Right.
and I knew that doesn't help them. Like even then,
Right.
and here's what they said: no.
It's not
In
about
their culture, it's about helping you.
Yep.
right.
They believe they may have a cold, but they
Right.
got to get to somewhere, so they put their mask on.
Right.
And I thought, oh well, that actually is helping because they go, it's like putting a napkin over your face,
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
It's like
Sure.
a social
Custom.
politeness
Yeah.
is what they're doing.
Consideration
and it was
for
just
others.
considered so different over there, but
Right.
now over here, because we went through COVID,
Now.
we would never do that.
Right.
Like if I was
Yeah.
getting on the plane and I thought, man, I might have a little sniffle. I don't know if it's an allergy or sniffle. I'll put a mask on. I'm not doing that because
They've
the social
taken-
stigma with that
Yeah.
is like, oh.
Well, it's
what's
a,
wrong with
I
you?
have to check myself
one of
because I've
those.
been on the plane recently,
Mhm.
and there was a couple people, a
Had
couple
masks on.
Missoulates that had masks, and I instinctively, and then I'm like, that's their choice, Matt.
Yeah,
Ease
but
back
you
a little
do-
bit.
you
If they
do-
want to
right.
wear,
you
I
do.
instinctively,
We are
Right.
trained
that
from
implicit
COVID,
bias.
right?
Yeah,
It's
right.
there.
That's right.
absolutely. And I had to put myself in check on that.
yeah.
But
It's
let,
our.
let anecdote for a second.
Yeah.
Do you still have a mask from that season? Because it got pretty free market economy. People were selling masks.
Oh.
And I say that because I
No,
found a
that's fair.
mask
Yeah,
a few months ago. We were cleaning out some stuff, and it's a black mask, and it says "Big Government Sucks." We had gone to a Turning Point thing with my daughter and Charlie
Perfect.
Kirk. It was a Charlie Kirk
wow.
thing.
Wow.
And I
was
was
Charlie
like,
there?
oh yeah, no, it was
Cool.
his event.
Cool.
Yeah, and so I mean, we've been doing that for before it was cool.
Yeah. Right.
So,
yeah. Well, and
but
questions.
but that was his mask. It said "Big Government Sucks," right? And I would wear that on the plane, and I just
he was selling those.
Yeah, they were
Okay.
at the
Gotcha. They're available at the
venue.
concession. Yeah.
And
okay.
so it was kind of one of those memory box things where
Yeah.
you pull it out because
That's
what's
important.
history going to write about this?
That's
It'll
right.
be very interesting.
I just threw away a bunch of COVID tests.
Yeah,
'Cause
tests.
Well, because I redid all my kitchen and everything recently, and so I just took everything and put it in boxes, but I didn't unpack a bunch of boxes. And
Yeah.
I went and opened up this box, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the amount of times I
Right.
was like going like this and
Right.
watching to see if the color changed, and I'm like, this probably wasn't even valid, and I threw them all away. But I'm just thinking, man, the social
Yeah.
training that we
Condition.
had,
Yeah.
I mean, was just amazing.
The power of the word.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, and especially, and I would compare it to, something we had said earlier. You don't have a right to go up to somebody's ear and scream fire
Yeah.
for 2.5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And we got to do something about that.
Now, what I am proud of us for is
Mhm.
I had said back when it was happening, I said the danger of what's happening right now is once you give up a right, you never get it back.
Yes.
You never get it back. I actually do feel like we have somehow tug-of-warred some of that back.
Yeah,
Away.
yeah.
And if you told me I had to bet, my
I
house
never
on it,
would've
I would have
thought,
said there's
yeah.
just, you never ever get a
An
right
instance.
when you give it back. And,
Yeah.
we hear it in
Yeah.
everything, Second Amendment. You cannot give up an inch because you'll never get it back. And then
Right.
this, and then this, and this,
Right.
and this, right? And I
And
saw it happen with COVID, and
Right.
now you're like, tuk, tuk, tuk. And
Yeah.
so now it takes us back to the
That's a good
original
point.
discussion we made. Voting matters,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? Had we had it go from that administration to a different administration, that we would
Different
not
country.
have gotten these rights back.
Correct.
We would not have started to pull some of these back.
Could be a
right?
war.
Well, without some dramatic change in behavior on the conservative side, it wouldn't have come back.
So to speak to that,
yeah.
sorry,
No, go ahead.
voting matters.
Hmm.
And I'm going to just use this second to say the most important election is Dan Wilson right now.
Oh,
As we're
Supreme
looking at
Court.
Is that right?
Section 3,
Oh, Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Supreme Court, the
Montana
person that's
Supreme
running
Court.
against him, this is her clause. She led the teenagers that sued on the Clean and Healthful Environment clause.
Yeah, they tried to
She
use
is
that as the.
No, they won.
They
She
won.
won. We have a liberal Supreme Court.
Oh.
And so I'm tying in all the three things you guys
Yeah,
are just. We're tying
absolutely.
in Section
Please.
3. We're tying in voting matters. Dan Wilson is running for Supreme Court against Addie. I can't remember her name right now. Lisa Addie or something like that. I don't know. But she is a far, far left extremist, and legislating from the bench isn't what should occur.
No.
Constitutional interpretation
Is
is
all.
what should occur.
That's right.
And unfortunately, the Montana Supreme Court, their interpretation, no matter how conservative we get Republicans in Helena, that Supreme Court has to be changed because we are losing our
Right.
rights and by their interpretation of the Montana Constitution.
interpretation is everything, isn't it? Especially when you get into the case law
That's what our
factor.
judges are
Well, and
supposed to do.
we're
though.
gonna I'm
Well,
gonna
and
use
they have to.
I'm
right.
gonna use
Yeah.
the word interpretation.
That's right.
They are not they have a predetermined
Yeah.
outcome that they want, and then they go
Right.
figure out how to interpret
How
it
do
to
I
be that
weasel
way.
this in?
We have a very
Yeah.
liberal Supreme Court right now.
We also have the opportunity to have a convention of states in 2 years on this Constitution
right?
right here.
Oh, really?
Not 2 years, 4 years.
4 years from
2030.
now. Okay.
2030, there's discussion. The time, I don't know the specifics on it, but in 2030, they can open up that, and that'll be a hot topic, whether or not we open that Pandora's box to revisit this Constitution
Wow.
in Montana.
I thought
Right.
the Constitution of States was for 34
So
states.
the Convention of States is for
the national
federal. That's Article
yeah.
5 of the United
Yeah, we
States
just have the
Constitution.
right every so many years to look at
Correct.
ours,
So the
yeah.
Montana Constitution
But it-
is being reviewed as we might go into a constitutional convention, not a convention of states. I might have misspoke.
Well,
A
yeah,
constitutional
yeah, okay.
convention
Yeah.
for
Right.
the state of Montana
Okay.
in 2030.
Interesting.
It'll be interesting. And the question is who's delegate. So none of the legislatures can do it, but them or the county commissioners pick the delegates that would do it.
From
So
each county, okay.
after this election, and then 2028, stand by for the next big Montana talking point.
Convention.
Yeah,
Right.
it'll be interesting because that's a big deal.
I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, they have to.
Is the Constitution the problem, or is our liberal judges the problem?
Application is always the problem.
Well,
you know,
my fear about a convention is, we're talking earlier about all the money that's buying
Yeah.
elections right now, right?
Yep.
So the question is going to become when you send off these few people up there to make a decision for. Now the good thing is it's got to go to a vote. To
Yeah,
the,
exactly.
to the citizens, right? So there's a protection on the Montana one.
Indeed.
But still, if you had something that you believe, like you've held that true to your heart
Yes.
for years, right? If you
Yeah.
believe, let's say you don't believe it's 100% good, but let me tell you, you think it's 98% good.
Sure.
Are you willing to risk 80% good?
Right.
No.
Well,
right?
no.
And so that's where I struggle with it. Is I don't believe that our Constitution of Montana is so broken that we need to go rewrite this thing.
Right.
I believe, like you're saying, the people who are interpreting it are not listening. And to what was said in just 1972, it's not
Right.
like they even used words
That were so dramatically
We could
different.
all have
Yeah.
this discussion over the
Yeah.
right to bear arms. Well,
Right.
what does arms mean? What does this mean? What's that?
Yeah,
But
that's a good
this
question.
one is
I like that
very,
question.
very clear,
Yeah.
right? And
Very clear.
yeah, you're going to go on a Second Amendment. I think I should be allowed to own a F-15, right? Because the government can have one.
You can if you just
Parody.
register it.
Yeah,
Parody.
yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it. Seems it's
With the
yeah.
private
You can as long as you register.
Yeah, but
pay
then
tax
I'm
on
not
it.
allowed.
Pay tax on it.
I'm not allowed to put munitions
I
on
saw a
it.
couple collide in Idaho not the other day.
Yeah,
They might
if I
be a
can buy those
salvage
two
situation.
parts, get them together.
All right, let's move on to one more because I
Yeah.
know you gentlemen have more to do today than explain to me everything that I want to know. So,
I'm guessing this
one.
won't be the last time we see you.
I hope not. I hope not. Section 4, individual dignity. God, this one hits home, especially with the COVID context. The dignity of the human being is inviolable. No person shall be denied the equal protection of the laws. Neither the state nor any person, firm, corporation, or institution shall discriminate against any person in the exercise of his civil or political rights on account of race, color, sex, culture, social origin or condition, or political or religious ideas.
Do you think that is called into question in Montana? Again, I've been in
It
law
was.
enforcement for 20 years,
Mhm.
and you're always he works in the valley right now. You are always making sure people's constitutional rights are
upheld.
protected.
Mhm.
So, do you think people's rights are not currently being protected because of race, religion, sex, culture?
No, not on those particular. Social origin or condition, maybe. Political or religious ideas, definitely.
Their rights aren't being. So give me an example of what's happening today.
The COVID discrimination that I
5 years ago.
Oh, that's happening.
What's happening
Okay.
today?
I can't.
So
I can't pick one
and
out
I
today.
appreciate
No, that's
knowing
fair.
history.
That's fair.
That
Yeah.
if you don't know history, we're destined to repeat it.
Yes.
But I'm also
What's happening
I'm a
now?
forward thinker. What's
Here and
happening
now.
now?
Yes,
Because
that's
and
fair.
this is my big
That's totally
argument
fair.
when race baiters come and they're like, oh, we don't have ID. No, talk to any person of color. They know how to get an ID. That was 1960s, right?
Sure.
That was almost 100 years ago. So if we continue to perpetuate these things that are in the past that aren't current today,
we're imposing
Yes.
the corpse of the past upon the future.
Yes, and I think it's important to be aware of what happened in the past,
Yes.
to not do that in the future. But today, where is this happening in Ravalli
Well,
County?
That's
in
Ravalli County. I cannot point to.
I'm
a
gonna
single
give you one that I
Yeah.
worry about.
Yeah.
So this is titled individual dignity.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm out on patrol, I won't tell you exactly where he is, but I can tell you, once a week we're going to get a call on this gentleman that has a mental illness, and he has a place that he lives in his father's house, but he walks the streets every day, and inevitably he ends up at a church, and he ends up screaming, and then someone calls him in for he's being a public nuisance, or
Sure,
he's
disturbing the peace, or
whatever they
threatening, or
want to call it.
menacing, or
And I walked up to him this last week and I said, "Hey, was there anybody else here? Because someone claimed he was in a fight." And he goes, "No, I've been here the whole time." And I'm like, said his name just now, but I'm like, "All right, hey, were you fighting somebody?" Yeah, I was in a fight. And I'm like, "Oh man, now he's really gonna go to jail." Well, he's fighting demons.
Yeah.
Is what he's fighting, right?
Right.
Well, now you got this. So for his dignity, to protect his dignity, should I really arrest him and take him to jail, put him in the system, let him sit there, and then we're going to release him in 48 hours, not to no services or
Right.
anything, right?
Yeah.
And then guess
Right.
what? I'm going to arrest him again next week.
That's right.
Is that providing this gentleman with dignity? So I don't believe that his
Yeah.
rights are being violated, and I
Right.
believe that we're protecting the rights of the people who have the right to not having this public disturbance and all this other stuff, right?
Right. It's a
So
balance.
we're doing what we are doing what we are required to by law, but every time I do it, I just think this is not going to fix this gentleman's
Correct.
problem.
Yeah.
Right. And so the part that I struggle with this whole thing is individual dignity. The dignity of a human being is inviolable. Well, he is not. He doesn't feel very dignified when we put him in the back of that car every time.
Sure.
And
No.
so I agree with you. I don't think people are just, hey, you're black, you're white, you're this, you're that, and I'm
Right.
not going to provide a service to you
Right.
or
Yeah.
this or
No.
that. But I do believe that we are impacting, because the law requires us to, some of a person's dignity
Yeah.
at times. Right? Is why it
When
feels bad.
when people are behaving disorderly,
Yeah.
and you are called in and you have to intervene, that's a hard thing,
Yeah.
because you're not going to be able to really use persuasion with somebody who may be
Dealing with mental health
clinically
issues.
mentally ill.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
And how do you reason with madness?
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, you do have to diffuse the situation, because he could or may be already
Yeah,
in the
it may
process
be
of
the day-
violating somebody else's
That's
dignity.
right. Yeah.
And so that's a hard thing, to be the
Yeah.
street arbitrator.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult. And I can't imagine myself being in that position, how I would react.
Yeah.
I've never had to necessarily. There's been a couple of instances in which maybe I've intervened, on behalf of somebody, that kind of thing, but I've never done it as a profession.
Well,
Right.
Matt and I have both been in the same spot. If you don't take it seriously, that you are actually, you are deputized to take away another person's civil rights.
It's
Yeah.
a big deal.
If you do not take
Huge.
that seriously, and
That's
if it doesn't hurt you a little every time you do it, right? Look, trust me.
Then you don't have a
I
conscience
feel
anymore.
every time
Yeah.
that we do it, I feel like we are doing the right thing, and we're doing what we're employed to do, and we're doing what we signed up to do.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that as we're going down and you look in the mirror and the guy realizes that since he's got his DUI, his job's probably at risk and his marriage probably
Right.
at risk,
His
and
whole
all this
life just
stuff, and
changed
it's all
course.
changed. If you don't have a heart for that, then it's a problem. But
Mhm.
you probably saved a life down the street.
Absolutely.
You could
right?
have.
You probably saved a life
Right.
down the street.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's certainly.
Yeah.
That's got to be a difficult thing, being that you're both law enforcement officers, past, present.
Yeah.
One of my favorite phenomenons that's occurring across the United States, and even here in Ravalli County, is First Amendment auditing. I love these guys, and I'll tell you
It's
why.
about to get real loud.
Uh-oh. All right. The reason I love First Amendment auditors is because they're actually driving policy to be changed. They're bringing up the deficiencies. Oh, wait a second here.
We'll let you edit this one out.
Yeah.
That man right there is a volunteer, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
You find that all over the place too.
That is the nice thing. Now, you're a reserve deputy.
That's right.
That's a volunteer status, or is
Yeah, and
is that a paid?
he's volunteer
Are you-
EMS also.
And you're
All right.
volunteering EMS
Yeah.
currently.
Yeah.
So, as I was saying before the mower came, I'm a big proponent of First Amendment auditors.
Mhm.
I think that they have done a great job in shifting the policy of we're going to do this in secret to we're going to do this in the light of day. To the point where it was cop watchers, as they were first known, that were super instrumental in making sure that body cameras became a part of law enforcement.
Sure.
And now body cameras are a part of the law enforcement tool belt, right? And it should be, because it's an objective witness and it gathers evidence and it protects the innocent from overreach.
It's objective.
And it
so
also
I watch this much of it and not this much.
Absolutely. Well, and, agreed.
Yeah.
And to that end, it should be super important that any police department or sheriff's office that provides body cameras also provides those records in full context to the public upon request.
Sure.
Or,
And we do that.
you know, and I think that's fantastic,
Yeah.
because it does lend to your credibility with the full context of the video.
Yeah.
But it protects you from lawsuits,
Mhm.
and it protects the innocent from being jailed by police overreach, which we have to be honest,
Sure.
there is a lot of corruption.
Well, I will tell you, just because I want to bring this up, because
Yeah.
I have a lot of people ask me, because I'm in the sheriff's department, there's
Yeah.
someone running against the sheriff, and you know, they do claim corruption, right? But I will
Sure.
say that you know, we did have one recently. You can look it up. As soon as the sheriff found out about it, he contacted Missoula. Missoula got to do the investigation. That guy got arrested. He's in jail for 23 years now, right?
Wow.
So like, we're not immune. We're not immune from a bad person doing a bad thing.
No,
But I
nobody
do
is.
think
Nobody
it's
is.
important to have a leader that says, it's, you know, by law we're not supposed to investigate our own stuff anyway. But you could,
Yeah, right. Conflict of
you
interest,
could
sure.
have said, well, you know, this hasn't reached a crime yet, or this hasn't, you know, like
Right.
there could have been departments that held it back. You know, they went very quickly after that one, and you know, the bad part is I knew this person, right?
Sure.
I didn't see it, but
Right.
it was obvious when they put forward everything.
When the
So,
evidence came forward,
yeah, it's I think to state that there's corruption, usually I think there's corruption in just
everything.
about anything.
anything
What
we
do you
touch,
do?
Right.
It's
Nobody's
like, what do you
immune to
do when you
corruption.
find out that there may be? How quickly do you react to
Mhm.
let it happen, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm going to push back on a lot on that for
Okay.
a second.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the data on body-worn cameras
Mhm.
showed something like a 63% decrease in use of force allegations. The data
great.
came from NYPD and Rialto PD.
Mhm.
I worked Fontana PD, which is right next to Rialto.
Okay.
I wrote our body-worn camera policy. I was part
ya?
of all of that
Okay.
thing when I was in administration. Yeah, I worked with lawyers. We do this all the time. I'm a policy writer.
Okay.
So the data came from those two things. Do you know why it reduced the use of force allegations?
Because people knew they were being watched.
Correct.
Because there's
It wasn't-
objective evidence.
Yeah.
No. It wasn't the cops.
Yeah.
People would come and say, that cop hit me 27 times and he did this. Oh, okay, let me show you the video. Oh,
not seeing
okay,
it.
I'm,
Yes.
I'm withdrawing my complaint.
Yeah.
Where you're, and this was what we were seeing in the narrative, that, oh, these
Okay.
cops are bad. They're not. Overwhelmingly, the amount of corruption in law enforcement, at least in the state I came from, fraction of a percent. Maybe 3% if I'm being generous. Because the high standards it takes to become a police officer, he had to go through the amount of background, even as a reserve, the amount of
Yeah.
background and character to be a cop. You don't have the corruption, at least in that state, and I'll speak to that in a second. Why? So why those statistics dropped was because the citizens who were making false allegations to get money from the city based on false allegations
Yeah.
started dropping them when they're like, you're lying. Here, look. I
Right.
mean, just look at the video.
Right.
Oh, well, maybe it was one time you hit me. Yeah, that's probably more right, and this is what happened.
Right.
And so that's what caused the drop in use of force. The same group of individuals, largely BLM, who was pushing the body-worn camera narrative at the time, is now the people that are fighting against it.
Yeah.
Because
Isn't that great?
now they
I saw
say it's
that.
showing-
racist.
Yes.
It's showing
Isn't
what
that
the
funny?
citizens are doing,
To
and the
instigate.
cops are like, we're just following the law. You know,
Right.
Will it catch you? Yeah, absolutely. Will if before body-worn cameras we had tape recorders, right? And I used to have a
Record
buddy of
the
mine.
audio.
Yeah, mine.
Or
it
dash
was just
cam, or just,
right.
Yeah. Or yeah.
And I had a training officer tell me, he's like, I love the tape recorder. And I go, why? He goes, because it makes me better, so I don't
That's
say
right.
stupid shit.
Yeah.
And I'm
that's
like,
right.
good point.
Yeah.
So there's an accountability factor.
Right.
But what you also don't see is the cost factor. the retention in all of that video from technology
to hold all that
oh
data.
my goodness.
Yeah.
And there's tens of thousands of dollars in that. So I would push back on the narrative that we have a corruption problem with law enforcement in the United States. You hear nationally a case here, a case there, so it appears that way. When I worked custody, I worked in the high security unit, and custody being jail.
Okay.
As a county
Yep.
deputy,
Yep.
you start in the jail, then you go to the street.
Okay.
And work in the high security unit, Mexican Mafia, Black Guerrilla Family, Aryan Brotherhood, those types of people. We also have the protective custody, segregated people. Do you know who the most hated people in jail are? By the cops, by the deputies, crooked cops. So when I had a highway patrol officer who had murdered somebody, and I had a highway patrol officer who had raped somebody, I hate those guys. Why? Because I have to work that much harder to get the public trust.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I do
agree
push
with
back
that.
on that narrative a little bit, especially in Ravalli County. I do hear of corruption here and there. And I'm sure our training standards could be a little higher, but we don't have the money a lot. So there are challenges that we have. But I would push back that our county deputies here are corrupt, especially with even the local, the Hamilton, Steve I, and Darby people. I don't collectively see that as true nationwide. I would say it's a much smaller percentage than the media purports it to be.
To be very fair, and to agree with you, I can't point to major corruption in Ravalli County. I do appreciate Sheriff Holton. I appreciate his predecessor, Hoffman. I appreciate Jay Prim, and I'd like to meet him sometime. You know,
There's a big case law that he got.
That's right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's because he stood up for
That's
us,
right.
and I
That's
think
right.
that is
That's
the
right.
obligation of the sheriff, right?
We have a rich history. here.
I think
I
sheriffs
agree.
in the West are pretty cool.
Yes,
Like,
sir. We have constitutional sheriffs here.
Let me give one example of at least Montana-based corruption.
Yeah.
And I can send you links, but we're not going to worry about that here and now.
Sure.
Recently in Billings, one particular officer, he had, I think it was 180 arrests, 49 of which were immediately dismissed when it came to the fact that he was taking his body camera off, colluding and conspiring with his fellow officers, fabricating evidence,
Yeah.
showing people how to manipulate consent forms to search. So the local county attorney had to dismiss 49 of his 180 arrests.
Yeah.
Did they fire him?
Yeah,
Okay,
they
good.
fired him.
Yeah,
Now,
good.
but here's where I'm upset, and I don't know that justice isn't coming, but he arrested 49 people, and those were in his case.
I don't know. That was a violation of their civil rights.
49 people were
correct.
kidnapped and ransomed by the county of Yellowstone.
That's correct.
And they risked their liberty and their life, and they could have destroyed their lives.
That's right.
And he
They'll
was
be paying out.
And that county owes them.
He was fired. I have not seen any charges for kidnap and ransom. I haven't seen anything pressed against him.
No
as of
civil
yet.
suits.
There
People
may
haven't
be-
sued the
there-
county?
Well, I think that's coming because I think
Yeah,
it's
I'd say
just-
deprive
this
my
will just
liberty.
occur.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
civilly
Well, now see that-
they'll get
And that's why
money.
the Constitution's so important.
Yes.
And government overreach. And unfortunately, our cops nationwide are tasked with sometimes
major-
unreachable things.
Yes.
But that's what's so important about having that training in constitutional rights. And that's why I know that our cops are doing a great job nationwide. There's an argument about national standards and certain things.
Sure.
I'm going to push back on politics or local. What worked for me in Fontana would not work here in Ravalli County.
Right.
And our Ravalli County
Different
deputy,
demographics.
correct.
Yeah.
And we have
Different
different freedoms.
expectations.
I saw
And- yeah,
there
And
was
a
a
different constitution.
and we
That's
know
right.
and we know our deputies. We're like, oh, that's Bob. I went to high school with him.
Right.
Hey, how's your mom doing? Your traffic stop starts with, hey, how's your mom doing?
Right.
Yeah, John. Yeah, Matt, you were driving a little fast. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
The sheriff tells you treat people like your mother.
Yeah.
That's right.
He tells
That's fantastic.
that's his line. You treat people like
So,
your mother when you walk up to that
The
car.
videos I've seen of Sheriff Holton being interviewed, he is a genuine guy.
Yeah.
He comes off genuine. He's not Grady. What is Grady Judd of
No,
Florida?
he's not
You know
at
what I
all.
mean? In any way. And
He's
there are
the
some
most-
things
he's
that
the
Grady
most-
Judd does that I appreciate.
He's the most
But then there's other
approachable
times
guy.
where he's definitely hamming it up and he's over the top. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
don't do that. Just stick with the good stuff, Grady.
He's polished that media sheriff.
Yeah, right. And I don't want to, and this is super important because you brought it up earlier, I don't want to impose national problems as my lens for judging Ravalli County politics, and I think it is unfair when I do, and I'm guilty of it.
Well, and like even you just said, as soon as you said, what did you say, Bozeman?
Billings.
Yeah.
We both kind of went,
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
right. Like if you told me
I don't know
Bozeman, I
about
go, like you say national, he says local, I say we are different as a county here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
you
we
can
are.
just cross county line
We're an
road and
island.
you end up just a little further north.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had
Yeah.
people leave the sheriff's department. They went up there for the money. They came back down here.
They're like, I can't
and
deal
they're
with
like,
that.
I can't do this.
Right.
I can't do this up there.
Is
and
that because of their moral compunction and enforcing policies that exist in Missoula County that don't exist down here, or at least form and function
so
of law enforcement?
I won't
in
try
Missoula?
to. I
Don't
won't try
speak
to
for 'em.
What I will say is the feedback that I got was, you pull someone over down here, and they're a little bit remorseful. Oh man, like
Right.
oh I know I was doing this.
Right.
They pull someone over up there, it's combative very quickly. Like the respect for police officers doesn't exist as much up there as it does down here. So your job is just harder.
Yeah.
And and then they were actually counting, and so Missoula has such a large swath. Where you're patrolling, you're always up, somewhere far away.
It's a
and
huge county.
it's a huge county, and
Yeah.
so they came back because they missed the people. Is
Yeah.
what they missed is the
Right.
people.
Who am I serving?
The people.
And the support of, again, going back to historically my previous life, politics plays a factor in that. If your city council, if your
Absolutely.
county governance
Support
supports
the
you,
police people. You don't
right,
want it.
you don't have that.
Yeah.
Where,
Right.
I mean, your bosses are saying, I don't want to fund the
They
police,
put you
but
in jeopardy.
In every policy,
Hold on one second. Every policy. You saw it.
Yeah.
Every policy.
policies get enforced differently in different jurisdictions.
Sure.
There's things that happen up in Missoula County. Pretty confident they brought that down here, our guys would be on it,
Yeah, they
and they'd be
don't
going to
fly
jail. And so same law violation, it's still an MCA violation.
Right.
But if they're not supported up there by their community, by their county governance, by their city governance, they're less apt to be able to intervene for the safety of the public. And so Seattle's a great example when he brought Seattle up. I had the exact same experience a few years ago, and I was like, this place is terrible. I would
Right.
never come back here. And that poor cop was realizing, I can give him a ticket. What else can I do? Because they're not
Right.
supported by their citizens. They're not supported by their county governance.
Yeah.
So it's important in the relationships we have in this valley that our county administrators are in support of our sheriff, our community is in support of our sheriff, because we have a constitutional sheriff, and I think that's an important thing, and we have to realize that all politics are local. Montana's a small town, but Ravalli County takes care of Ravalli County.
It was great moving here and realizing like the Fourth Amendment right. I mean, if a dog walks around your car in Texas, we get to look in your car.
Yep.
Dog walks around your car here, I'm going to seize your car, take it back down, wait till the judge tells me I'm allowed to look in the car. Just because the dog sniffed doesn't mean I have a right to go in the car. You get
Is that right?
You get to kind of have a say before
There's
we
a
get to
little
look in
bit
the
of
car.
process.
If I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to search you for weapons, and I'm patting you down, and right here I'm like, oh, that feels like methamphetamines in your pocket. Well, I wasn't looking for methamphetamines.
You were
I have
searching for
I have-
weapons.
I have no
Right.
right to go in there. We'll have a little discussion that says, hey, just so you know, if you end up inside the jail and you have that, whatever that is in your
It's not gonna
pocket,
go well. It's
that's
an
going to become a
additional charge.
felony for you,
Right.
right? If you and I discuss this right now, that'd be a different story, right?
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, very, very strict Fourth Amendment rights, and
Yeah.
when we're allowed to look in things and not look in
Which
things.
I think is
And that's-
highly important.
That's
Exactly
based on
right.
our
Yeah.
Constitution and the Supreme Court's
That's right.
interpretation of it.
Yeah.
Because there's warrantless exceptions.
Yes,
and
there are.
In our state,
Yeah.
that's not. So from a citizen standpoint, it's great, right? Because he's
Sure.
talking about
It's-
plain view exception,
Yeah,
plain
I
field
mean, it's
exception.
very
Plain
tough for us
view
right now.
doctrine.
If
It
we
is.
were going to come serve you a warrant right now and you have that bag right there, I can't look in that bag.
Hands are tied.
Unless
be-
it's detailed on the warrant.
Yeah, I could
that
be
you
walking
believe
to
that
that
the
car with a
elements of
bomb
the
in it,
crime
right?
are
But
in the
that's
bag.
right. But
Right.
if we're coming here, you're who we're dealing with, not with that.
Right.
That's going to go with you, but we're not
Right.
going to look in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fair. And
Yeah.
and
I love it about that. though.
Yes.
I mean, it does make
That's
our
what
job
I
a little
expect.
harder,
Right.
but it makes us
Yeah.
more. You have to understand the Constitution and the laws
Yes.
if you're going to participate in this state, because you could get yourself in a lot of trouble real quick.
yeah. And I'm on that journey.
Yeah.
To that end, in that bag right there, I have Montana Code annotated 44 through 46,
Yeah.
and what is it? I think it's Chapter 7, local government. I couldn't afford the $450 complete version, But I asked Jeff if he would get a copy for the county to keep and keep as a reference down at the county commission. He said, yeah, I'll look into it. So,
Hey, tell them to go down and get one from the sheriff's department.
do you guys always have? I would imagine you'd have to have at least
So we-
one, but
No, we have a few of them that are down
Yeah.
there. And as a matter of fact, I think we get like 20 of them.
Oh, do you?
Each time they revise it, we get 20 of them.
and they hand
down
them
there.
out to deputies too.
Yeah, they hand them out. So what actually ends up happening is if you're a reserve, we get last year's version, and then we get a set of notes of what's changed, and we keep it in there, right? So
Yes,
these things
right.
get passed down,
From
right?
23 to 25, this
Yeah.
is what's changed.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we get them passed down over there. But
Right.
I mean, that's who you want to have them, right?
Absolutely.
So-
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because words matter, and,
Well,
and they're the ones that are interpreting it on the street at the time.
One of the
They
questions
don't
I
have
ask
that. That's
people.
good.
But are you an online person?
I am. Yeah.
Okay. I
And
mean, because
and
I actually
use
think
that. Yeah.
our MCA online system's great.
It is great.
I mean,
It is.
Yeah.
And the only reason I got the hardbound, one is because I enjoy books more.
Sure.
But two, if there's a discrepancy between what's online and what's printed, the printed version prevails.
Yeah.
So you have to have that just as a secondary reference.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said earlier, I like to learn from books.
Yeah.
But man, as far as answering a quick question, you know,
Yes,
bam. And
right.
we use that in the car a
Absolutely.
lot. Right? We don't have the
That's
book
great.
in the car with us. But,
Right.
You know,
Well, the speed with which you can pull everything up, and then the hyperlinks that show you how
we just
came to this
had one
conclusion.
recently that we had to go through the MCA's because there's all these trucks driving around with the white lights on top,
Okay.
and we all said, I think that's illegal. Like, I don't know. They're just indicator lights. So we're sitting there following the truck and we're looking through the whole thing. I'm like, above the headlights, clear as states, it must be amber, blah blah blah. And then they had those lights glowing underneath.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
All
it
throughout the
clearly
Yeah.
states that if we can see the lens, it's a problem. If you can see the glow, it's not. So
I
we
see.
had
Interesting.
So we're driving along. We're like, all right, well, we're gonna because it was right beginning of spring break, and there was like 10 of them driving down the highway, and you tell one, and then all of a sudden all the lights are off. Right. And it's
Right.
like, all right. Well, hey, then we did a service because they're kind of really distracting to other drivers.
They
right,
can be.
is what they were.
Right. And I
But
can
then we
understand the
kind of had to
safety aspect
also
of it.
have the middle of. This is really hurting.
Is this a
anybody.
crime?
But it was. Let's see what the law really is.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
And so
Right.
then we're at the law, and then if people see that we're choosing as police officers to enforce some laws and not others, well, if you don't enforce them all, then basically you've negated all of them. How can we have
some extent.
discretion?
Discretion's
on these?
important.
Yeah.
Leniency, discretion,
Yeah, the
mercy.
leniency. So,
Yeah.
but I will say
Yeah.
this is a good thing about the sheriff's
Sorry.
department. Most of the people we pull over, it's a warning. Hey, do you understand that you're not supposed to have those lights
Right.
on top? And let
Right.
me tell you what they're doing to people.
Yeah.
You're going to need to go turn those off and put them back to amber. I didn't know that was even against the law. I'm like, yeah. Now we pull up to the one, and the guy's going to start.
Do you know my dad?
Yeah.
Do you know who I think I
Yeah.
am?
Yeah, that's right.
Did your mom not
You
tell
you don't know the law.
In here,
I'm like,
like-
oh, I have rights. That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Peter, you
that's
gonna
I'm
what-
like,
share-
you do have rights.
Right? Are you going to share your YouTube channel or wherever you're posting this?
Yes.
Yeah, he's got
Yes.
it.
Yeah. It's called Ferris. I
Yeah.
need to change titles, and I need
Ferris?
to. Yes.
Yeah, you could-
Ferrous.
And
It just means
put,
Okay,
steel
Ferris,
or
yeah,
iron.
put
that kind of
River
Ferris.
Valley after it to find it.
Yeah, it's a keyword. Otherwise, it goes to like metallurgical videos and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah, but I will certainly put this on. I'm more than likely just going to put it up unedited, and the reason being is that it takes so long to find
Right.
and cherry pick and splice and do all that kind of stuff. But it is something I need to practice doing because my conscience is telling me, Peter, you love to be involved and you like to investigate and you love to have conversations. Why aren't you a journalist?
Sure.
Citizen journalist.
Citizen journalist.
I thought that's what you
Do
were.
you know how
Well,
to?
I am as a moonlighting.
Do you know what software you're going to use?
Da Vinci is the one that keeps
that's
on
one
being
that's
recommended.
one my son would tell you to use.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
he does all my videos and everything. He uses DaVinci 100%, and he teaches it in Stevensville.
So during COVID, I spent every weekend demonstrating.
Okay.
I have at least 50 hours of footage of me just standing at the farmer's market down in Missoula, at the Caras Park Farmer's Market, having conversations in the middle of the masked sea of fear.
Yeah.
And I'm holding my signs that are clearly against them. But at the same time, I was able to have so many positive interactions with people from the other side of the wire.
Yeah.
There was very few instances in which people were trying to instigate violence with me. And even the one guy that cocked back one time, I just stood there and waited and nothing. Because they want to use fear to shut you up.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not going to do that, And even though, internally I wrestle with things, I'm like, if I do this, there could be consequences, that I'm not intending upon and that kind of thing. Even, bringing us together to have this conversation, I'm spinning in my head, well, what could go right? What could go wrong? All these certain things. But really, because we came here in good faith, and because I'm going into the world in good faith, I know that God's going to protect me. And I believe that good acts are always committed in the light of day, which is why this was such a perfect example of where we need to be.
I'm glad we're not in the wood shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Too nice
Yeah,
of a
if
day.
it was raining heavy, and the wind was kicking and we couldn't hear it, it'd be a different story. But, gentlemen, thank you so much
I
for
even
your time.
swept it for you.
Did you?
Yeah, I wasn't sure we were going to end up there. I'm like, I better go at least go
At
sweep
least
this
kind of
thing.
pick up. And
Montana
maybe,
weather changes every 20 minutes, so yeah, that's fair.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
Thank
your time. Thank you.
Thank you for the
sir.
book.
I think this was a
Good to see you.
fantastic
Of course.
success. And yeah, like I said, I'll probably
Do you
just
ever
publish the whole
use
thing.
Mike?
No.
That's what I
I
was
need to
wondering.
gear
How's
up.
that going to pick
Do you
up?
want to try
We're gonna
some?
find out.
I have
Yeah.
I have a
We're
set
gonna
of
find
I have a set of right before I left my last company, I bought these Bluetooth. They attach to the phone Bluetooth, but they're muffled mics for the wind. 'Cause
Yeah,
I was doing
yeah.
speeches outside,
Right.
but they're just sitting in a drawer. If you want to try them,
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
be happy.
yeah, I'll get them to you.
absolutely.
I'll find them and I'll bring them down.
I'm
to you.
actually expecting a couple more cameras to arrive today. Hopefully Amazon has delivered them in the meantime.
What kind of camera?
2 different 360 cameras.
Okay.
Just because it's nice to have the one that focuses on the subject and the matter and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
And then another one to kind of catch any fun stuff. Like I always just run my body camera when I'm demonstrating because you just never know what moment is going to come.
Yeah.
And, I got to tell you, surprisingly, I would say 95% of the interactions I've had demonstrating over the last 5 years have
Even
all
the
been
guy who
positive.
disagreed with you from GSK,
That's right.
I thought you
was-
guys were civil
Yes.
and disagreeable.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Is what it was.
And we were trying to get down to something,
Yeah.
but we both hold this position that is unassailable, right? And we didn't get to the final truth, but we did demonstrate who we were. So that's fair enough.
Yeah. Matt said earlier, he felt heard,
Yes.
right? He
Yeah.
felt heard. You gave him the respect of being heard.
Yeah.
And I feel like he didn't like what you had to say, but he let you speak.
Right.
I always refer to it as a few of your
Super.
truths and a few of his truths, right? Like
Right.
to say that yours is the truth or his is the truth.
Right.
It is absolutely your truth and is absolutely your truth. And there's degrees
The truth is
somewhere in the
somewhere
middle
there.
of this, right?
Yeah.
And you guys both give each other enough respect to have that conversation.
And that is what I think that is the solution to all this angst and division.
Yeah.
It's just being able to have open conversations. There are 2 ways to motivate people in this world: persuasion or force.
Yeah.
If persuasion fails and they're starting to lean toward violence, you have to use defensive force to hold that off. You have that obligation. Or if you can't, you need to find gentlemen like yourself to step in and say, hey, you can't use violence, right?
Well, I taught my son this early. I said, son, give me your hand. I pushed on him, and he pushed back. I said, okay. I said, now give me your hand. And I just barely pulled him, and he started walking towards me.
Mm-hmm.
I said, do you see what the analogy here is?
Ooh.
You can't force people to do things, but you can bring them along.
That's right.
You can bring them along.
That's right.
Right. And because I didn't even tell him what I was going to do. As soon as I pushed, he pushed back. Right.
Right.
Like he said, oh, you're
Instinct.
pushing.
Yeah.
Right.
And as soon as I put out my hand,
Instinct,
like
yeah.
as a way to help and say, just gently brought him. He just came right towards me. He's like, "What are we doing now?" I said, "I'm just making
I'm showing you the point.
showing you the point, bud."
That's
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yes,
Peter.
thank you,
Appreciate it.
gentlemen. I appreciate it. You have a great day. Feel free to take these and give them to somebody you believe
I
may
will.
appreciate
Yep.
them.
I'll do it.
If you need it yourself, I'm sure everybody's got one.
I've
But
got a highly marked
last
up
time
one.
I was in Helena, I went into the Secretary of State's office and they gave me a box of 20 of them. And so
Well,
it's
your
good passing them out,
your
so.
friend Skip Chisholm hands them
Yeah.
out all the time.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
Skip loves to hand these out.
Absolutely. Skip is a great guy, and he has provided me with a lot of encouragement. So I appreciate you,
You can
gentlemen.
always count on Skip asking you a question at the end.
Yes, I
Yeah,
can.
he-
Just keep it going just a little
I-
longer. Maybe there's something else you want to say.
Video for video, I'm like, I watched.